Hey everyone, welcome to another Klein Cup Playoffs watch party on the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network here on Twitch. Obviously, it doesn't get any bigger than this. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. I guess Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final is bigger than Game 1, but Game 1, there's always a ton of intrigue. Two teams that don't see each other a lot in the regular season, Tampa, Colorado, but two teams that were predicted to be powerhouses again. Everybody knew Tampa would be a force come playoff time, two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. Everyone knew Colorado was the team to beat in the West. Fell short the last couple seasons. This is the first time they've made it out of the second round or back into the through the conference finals, back into the Stanley Cup finals. So, but Colorado, top seed in the Western Conference, second overall in the NHL this year behind the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers, but everybody sort of pegged Colorado as the team to beat. I think they had the best odds coming into the season as the potential betting odds for Stanley Cup champions. So we're seeing two of the very best go at it here in the NHL. And likewise in the UFHL, we got the Grizzlies representing the Allen Conference as the Gretzky Division champions. Allen Conference champions defeated the Yetis from the Lemieux Division in that conference final, up against Rock Republic, representing the Legends Conference as well as the Orr Division, defeated the West Coast Express from the Howe Division in their Legends Conference finals. So a great matchup to decide the third ever Klein Cup champion, and obviously it's going to be crowning a new champion for the third year in a row, third time in as many years. We started it off in 2020. Obviously, this is the first full season of the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League because of the COVID shutdowns and shortened seasons and bubble playoffs and all that not so fun stuff. This was the first 82-game season, fans in the buildings, full playoffs, all the rest. As you heard Gary Bettman today say, they're record-setting revenues for the NHL into the 5-point-some billion. So a great successful season for the NHL as well as for the UFHL. Like I said, first full season of the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League on the Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports UFFS platform. So very exciting that the Grizzlies and Rock Republic are meeting in the Klein Cup final starting tonight, mirroring obviously the NHL Stanley Cup final. So it'll go anywhere between 4 to 7 games, anywhere up to, could go as long as June 28th would be the Game 7 in the NHL, which will obviously be the conclusion here in the UFHL. As I was saying, we got started in 2020. We only got 2 months of gameplay. The Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League launched in January 2020, and by March 2020, as we all know, the world shut down, hockey shut down. So actually, the Grizzlies, in that 2-month window of gameplay, they ended up getting awarded or crowned the first ever Founders Trophy, the regular season title in the UFHL. So the Grizzlies already have some hardware, but they really want the Klein Cup, the big trophy, which obviously you get your name engraved and your roster engraved. It looks, it's somewhat similar to the Stanley Cup, big shiny silver chalice. So great trophy provided by 3 of the founders, the Klein Saucer family. So that's why it's called the Klein Cup. But great to have the Klein Cup, and obviously the Grizzlies want to get their hands on the Klein Cup. That inaugural season with the shutdown and then the bubble playoffs, the Monarchs actually were the first ever Klein Cup champions in 2020. And then again, the 2020-21 season was delayed, didn't start until January. It was a 53-game schedule, maybe 56 games, don't quote me on that, somewhere in the 50 games instead of 82. And we saw the Ice Vikings win the Founders Trophy as the regular season title, and then their rivals all season long, Red Army, they ended up finishing second in the regular season, and they defeated the Gators franchise in the Klein Cup final last year. So the Grizzlies got past the defending Klein Cup champion Red Army in the Gretzky Division final in this year's playoffs, and then went on to defeat the Yetis in the conference final, the Allen Conference final. So definitely the Grizzlies have a lot of experience. Both these franchises and their ownership groups have been a part of the platform from day one. So cool to see two of the OGs be clashing here in the the championship, the Klein Cup final, because there has been quite a bit of turnover over obviously two plus seasons going through the end of the third season now in the UFHL, although the first full season. There's been a number of franchises sold and new investors joining the platform every couple months, or certainly throughout the season and the off season coming up. There'll be lots of opportunity again for people that want to get involved in the UFHL, be it as in an ownership capacity or in a fantasy gameplay capacity. A lot of barely any of these franchises are one-man operations. It's much like the real world. The owners hire a general manager, they hire assistant GMs, affiliated scouts. We have a scouting platform or a scouting program within the UFFS platform. And yeah, I mean, some teams even have capologists, some of these franchises. So lots of ways to get involved, lots of opportunity in the UFHL. And you'll see it play out here in the Klein Cup final, just next level fantasy sports. When we look at the Klein Cup final, obviously we're going to have the live scoring going tonight. They're just getting ready to do the anthems here in Denver. The Colorado has home ice, obviously, again, as the higher seed. In the regular season, Colorado finished second in the NHL, and Tampa Bay was 8th overall in the regular season standings. Whereas in the UFHL, the Grizzlies and Rock Republic were neck and neck. Grizzlies won their division, the Gretzky division, but they actually finished 5th overall in the regular season standings, and right behind them were Rock Republic, who were the second seed in the Orr division behind the Titans, who Rock Republic took out in their division finals. So good parity throughout the league in the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League, and it's only going to get better. It's a full cap league, so some of the strong franchises from one year to the next, they load up, and then they got to find a way back under that salary cap ceiling. Although good news for the UFHL, Gary Bettman sounded, in past years that coming out of COVID and during COVID, it was very doom and gloom on the salary cap. It's going to be a flat cap for X number of years, and now next season it's only going up $1 million. Well, today Gary Bettman sounded optimistic that within the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to start seeing that salary cap trend up from $82.5 million. We're going to, it's only a matter of time till the NHL breaks that $100 million barrier for their salary cap. And certainly for the UFHL, the franchises, any cap flexibility they get is welcome, because, we have free agency coming up in a couple of weeks. We have our entry auction, our version of the NHL draft coming up. Everything mirrors the real world, and a lot of these franchises will have difficult decisions to make on free agents, on, player, because it's a dynasty league, players that sign, they might not have room for that new cap hit, and they might have to either trade them or release them. And again, because we don't sign the contracts, the GMs and the owners in the UFHL don't negotiate the contracts with the players. They have to have a rough idea of what to expect their players are going to get, and they got to always be one eye on the future, knowing, okay, this player's got 3 years left on his contract. Here's the cap hit, the AAV, and you're always kind of, thanks to Puckpedia, we have a great partnership with Puckpedia with the UFHL site there. You can track your roster and the rest of the league, your rivals' rosters, as far as how they match up with the salary cap from year to year. But you definitely got to have an eye on the future, or you're going to get caught in a situation where new contracts are kicking in. Players, especially nowadays with the standout rookies coming off their ELCs, there's not too many bridge contracts anymore. A lot of them go right from 1 million upwards of 10 million, and as that cap goes up, you're going to see that more and more. So you got to be ready for that. Especially a lot of these guys are signing a year in advance. You got a year of wiggle room to make sure you got room for them. But if you leave it to this off season, and then you're 10 or 15 or 20 million over the cap, like the Tampa Bay Lightning were a couple of years ago, you got to find a way under, right? So it's and then you have no negotiating power if you're over the cap. And we do have some franchises in that situation. We mentioned the Ice Vikings, last year's regular season champs. They had to do a lot of maneuvering. They had to trade away guys like Chris Kreider, and they had to release Jamie Oleksiak to free agency. A number of moves in order to get them back under the floor. And then, of course, the Evander Kane situation happened, which set them back. They were actually outside of the top 10 for much of this season. They surged up into 7th, finished 7th overall again. So, Brian Smith and Jeff Brown did a great job of managing their salary cap situation. Maybe didn't have the best foresight and of course they're going for it. They want to win that Founders Trophy as regular season champs last year. And so they knew that some contracts were coming. But then guys like Joel Eriksson Ek got, huge raises, more than they expected. So, I see Tony here says, waiting for Fish to take my bet on Telegram. So I'll have to see what's going on in Telegram while I'm rambling here. Tony says he'll take Tampa for 1,000 SCO in Game 1 tonight. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, I predicted Colorado would win 4-2 tonight. And I said that I have Tampa in 6. So we do a UFHL, NHL playoff pool. There's 16 entrants this year. Where we predicted right from before the playoffs every round, and the point system escalates from round to round to keep that parity going and keep the competition going. But I predicted that, actually it's funny because I'm going against my prediction. Prior to the playoffs, I predicted I was one of 4 entrants out of 16 that actually had Colorado and Tampa as the finalists in the NHL. So I got all the bonus points there for predicting the correct Stanley Cup Final before the playoffs, and I actually took Colorado as my champion. But throughout the playoffs, I've been watching Tampa, and I just think, especially with Braden Points back in the lineup now tonight, Darcy Kemper is starting for Colorado, so there's some uncertainty about their goaltending situation, but he's in. But I look at Colorado, they lost Nazem Kadri, they lost Samuel Girard. They did sweep Edmonton, but they've had a pretty long layoff. Granted, so has Tampa, but I just think that championship pedigree, and it's hard to bet against Andrei Vasilevsky, even though, Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, you go up and down that lineup. But again, Nazem Kadri, Sam Girard, those are big losses for Colorado. Tampa essentially is firing on all cylinders. I think some of their players that haven't had great playoffs, I see Alex Killorn in the background there, 17, getting ready to come out tonight. He hasn't scored yet in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'd be shocked if Killorn doesn't make some sort of impact in this final. He's probably playing through injury too, but I think he'll step up. I just think Tampa's got so much firepower. So I think Tampa in 6 is my prediction. Even though I said Colorado prior to the playoffs, I flipped on that now. I love Colorado's team, the way they're built. The young guys, Bowen Byram's breakout playoffs has been amazing. But big picture, I just think Tampa, with all their championship experience, is going to be extremely hard to knock off, especially the fact they're mostly healthy at this stage of the playoffs still, and Colorado's missing some key guys. But Tony's saying that McKinnon's the man tonight. He wants to take Tampa just for tonight's game. So, that was Dean that said McKinnon's the man tonight. But so Tony would like to take Tampa for tonight's game because I said Colorado 4-2 tonight. So can't argue with the boss. You got to take up a bet when he puts it out there, right? So 1,000 SCO. He didn't start small either. He goes right to 1,000. So we'll see how this plays out tonight. But I have to take him up on it. I got Colorado winning at home in Game 1. And Tony's going to take Tampa on the road to steal Game 1 and sort of set the tone in this series. And when you look at the rosters in the UFHL before they get to the anthems here, obviously Andrea Krandic does a great job with all the graphics. We got our playoff preview online here. Here you see the conference champions, Allen Conference Grizzlies, and Legends Conference Rock Republic. You get into the rosters for the final, and there is a manpower advantage here. And I should clarify this because I put in the preview that Rock Republic has 23 players on their roster for the Klein Cup Final. And the Grizzlies only have 13. So you think, wow, 10 extra players. But you can only dress one goaltender a night, and the goalies are playing head-to-head. It's Kemper against Vasilevsky. Rock Republic has both of them. So every night, Rock Republic, Kyle Roberts has a goaltending decision. Does he think Colorado's winning Game 1, or does he think Tampa's winning Game 1? You got Vasilevsky and Kemper. If you get it wrong, you're probably going to not get very many points or lose points. You get it right, you could have a big night. So the game within the game, Rock Republic deciding which goaltender to go to with each night during the Stanley Cup Final, Klein Cup Final. And then when you say they got 10 extra skaters, well, they got 2 goaltenders to none. The Grizzlies don't have a goaltender in this final. They had Igor Shesterkin, and obviously he got eliminated by Tampa in the conference final. Otherwise, the Grizzlies would have had a lot of Rangers going. But when you look at the rosters, the thing that stands out, again, 10 extra players. So you think, okay, that's a lot. But then when you get into the actual numbers game, the Grizzlies have 4 defensemen. You can only dress 6 a night. and Rock Republic's got 7. So they got 2 extras, but they also have Samuel Girard, who's out, obviously. So really, they got 1 goaltender to 0. They got 6 to 4 on defense. And again, all these players are in the final now that are still going in the Klein Cup final. So it's not like you can stream guys in and out from night to night. You can, but you're still going to only have the same number of players. And then up front, Rock Republic has 14 forwards to the Grizzlies' 9. So that's 5 more, but really they can only dress 3 more because they got to have 2 healthy scratches every night in order to dress 21, not 23, right? Or 20, not 23. So that's kind of the game within the game is watching what Rock Republic does with their lineup. They're going to have a manpower advantage. They're going to have 3 more forwards than the Grizzlies every night. They're going to have 2 more defensemen than the Grizzlies every night, and they're going to have the only goaltender going every night. But they got to pick which goaltender is going to have the most success every night in the NHL Stanley Cup final. So we get into the rosters here. Here's what the Grizzlies are working with for the Klein Cup final as the anthems get going. Only 1 owned player. The L's are all leased throughout the playoffs. They've had players get eliminated, and they've picked up leased players. That's how it works in the Klein Cup playoffs and the innovative playoff leasing system to have the UFHL continue through mirroring the NHL's playoffs. But they got Nazem Kadri, who's obviously injured, had thumb surgery. We don't know if he's going to be eligible to be back. We're not expecting him back in the Stanley Cup final as they get ready to drop the puck here on Game 1. But Kadri's sort of one of the key acquisitions for the Grizzlies last offseason and was a great player all through the playoffs, so a big loss. But they have both captains, which is interesting. They got Landeskog and Stamkos. So you look at this NHL matchup, Colorado and Tampa. Both the captains, Landeskog and Stamkos, are with the Grizzlies. JT Compher, and who's been filling Nazem Kadri's role. So down goes Kadri. Compher steps in there, scored a game-winning goal against Edmonton in the game that Kadri got hurt, and really had a big impact in that series. So Compher's up the lineup. Arturi Lehkonen was acquired at the trade deadline as this Game 1's underway here now in the Stanley Cup final. And here comes McKinnon off the rush with good speed, and Hedman boxes him out and shuts him down and strips him of the puck. So as Kevin Bieksa said in the pregame, McKinnon's going to see a ton of Anthony Cirelli, who's, if he doesn't win a Selke trophy in the next couple of years, I'll be surprised. Great shutdown defender. Did a great job against all the matchups he's faced throughout the playoffs, whether it was Matthews and Marner or certainly, against Zibanejad and Kreider, that line. The Rangers had to break that line up because they had nothing going against Cirelli. So you got Cirelli obviously trying to shut him down, and then you got Hedman on the back end as well, trying to contain McKinnon in that top Colorado line. But Arturi Lehkonen, again, traded from Montreal to Colorado at the trade deadline. Everybody said huge overpayment. Gave up Justin Barron, who was a first-round pick just a year ago. Great defense prospect who got into some games for Montreal, scored a goal already for Montreal, as well as a first-round pick. And a lot of people said overpayment. Joe Sakic took a guy that went to the final last year with Montreal. Lehkonen actually scored the winning goal for Montreal to get them to the Stanley Cup final last year. Guess who scored the winning goal in overtime to send Colorado to the Stanley Cup final this year? Arturi Lehkonen. After the game, they interviewed Nathan McKinnon, and he said, I'd give 10 first-round picks for that guy right now because McKinnon really wants first time for him being in the Stanley Cup final. He's determined and driven to win. So Arturi Lehkonen will have a big impact for the Grizzlies. He's playing on one of their top lines with Colorado. And then, all the players that the Grizzlies got from the Yetis, when they eliminated the Yetis, they got a handful of Tampa forwards. Obviously, Stamkos being the biggest name. But that Ross, Colton, Brandon, Hagel line, they've played together a lot in the playoffs. Don't know if they'll be playing together in this final series or in Game 1, but they've been great together throughout the playoffs. They both contribute quite well. I mean, they're solid fantasy producers. They throw the hits. They get a lot of shots. They get their share of PIMs. Real energy guys for Tampa as well as for the Grizzlies. And then again, the fourth line, Patrick Maroon and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare have both been very effective for Tampa. You don't hear a lot about them. Patrick Maroon has a chance to win his 4th straight Stanley Cup, which is crazy. He won with St. Louis and then moved on to Tampa, won back-to-back with Tampa. So he's already got the three-peat. He's going for 4 in a row. I don't know how many players, maybe some old Montreal Canadiens way back when, maybe some of those Islanders, I think they won 4 in a row, but certainly not in this generation of hockey fans have we seen anybody win 4 straight Stanley Cups. Corey Perry is in the finals. He's on, interesting story with Corey Perry, we'll get to that, but he's on in the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd time in as many years with 3 different teams. He didn't win a cup. He's won a cup back with Anaheim in his younger years, but he didn't win with Dallas, and he didn't win with Montreal last year. So if you can't beat him, join him. He's with Tampa now, trying to make it 3rd time the charm in this run for Corey Perry. But again, Patrick Maroon going for 4 in a row already, and a big part of the off-ice culture in Tampa Bay since he's got there. So another key forward, depth forward for the Grizzlies. On defense, I talked about the emergence or the breakout of Bowen Byram. He's going to be a big factor for the Grizzlies, as well as Eric Johnson, who first overall pick for St. Louis way back in 2006. He's never been this deep in the playoffs. He's been in Colorado for quite a few years, a leader there. He's battled some injuries in recent years, but he's been healthy and effective throughout this playoff run. He's going to be a big part of it for the Grizzlies on Colorado's blue line. And then from Tampa, they also have a defense pair or 2 defenders, Eric Chernak and Zach Bogosian, who both came over from the Yetis as leased players now after defeating the Yetis in the conference final. And both those guys are, heavy on hits. They get a lot of blocked shots. They're pretty good plus-minus players, obviously. They get their share of penalty minutes. So a lot to like about those 2 on the back end with the scoring system in the UFHL and all the different categories. So that's the 13 players that the Grizzlies are taking into the Klein Cup final. Now let's look at Rock Republic. They're taking 23 players, as mentioned, in the full complement into the Klein Cup final. Here you see their lineup, and it looks strong, obviously. I mean, it's hard not to say Rock Republic's the favorite. We talked about the goaltending. They got both Darcy Kemper and Andrei Vasilevsky. Tough decision every night, and let's check who they went with tonight, because this is an interesting game within the game. And for game 1, they've started Andrei Vasilevsky. So Kyle must be on Tony's side of the bet here. He's thinking Tampa gets game 1. Or maybe just thinks it could be a higher scoring game and not sure about Kemper. But going with Tampa, the 2-time defending champs, how do you not go with Andrei Vasilevsky? I mean, he's been so awesome throughout these playoffs, out-dueling, shutting out Toronto or shutting down Toronto in that final couple games, including that overtime in Game 6, I think it was, and then literally blanking Florida. Florida only scored 3 goals in a 4-game sweep. And he was great in the head-to-head with the Russian goaltending duo with Igor Shesterkin in that conference final. Vasilevsky could go back-to-back here as the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, playoff MVP in the NHL. So hard not to go with Mr. Conn Smythe as Rock Republic starts him in Game 1 over Darcy Kemper for Game 1 of the Klein Cup final. So that's interesting. They got both goaltenders. And then, we'll go back to the forward side. Obviously, we mentioned the Grizzlies only had Kadri as an owned player. Rock Republic only has Alex Newhook. Great story there. He's from Newfoundland, Rock Republic's Newfoundland-based franchise. They've loaded up on the young Newfoundland prospects. They got Alex Newhook, they got Dawson Mercer, and they also have Zach Dean coming along, Vegas first-round picks. So cool that they're trying to keep that Newfoundland theme going throughout their roster and have some homegrown talents for Rock Republic. And great to see Alex Newhook as he comes in on the forecheck here. Vasilevsky's going to hang on to that, but you see Newhook getting in on the rush there. But yeah, Alex Newhook and Darren Helm, the veteran, are the 2 owned players for Rock Republic. Helm scored a big goal to get past St. Louis. He had the series clinching goal there to get to the conference final. So he's had somewhat of an impact. They're both depth players for Colorado, but he's had somewhat of an impact. The ringers that Rock Republic were able to recruit from West Coast Express when they advanced out of that Legends Conference final, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Valerie Nichushkin. At times that's Colorado's top line in these playoffs, depending if Nichushkin or Landeskog's up there with McKinnon and Rantanen. But just a great trio of impact forwards from Colorado. They already had Andre Burakovsky, Logan O'Connor, and Nicholas Aube-Kubel from when they defeated the Titans in the conference final, or sorry, the Orr division final. So, but there again, you got McKinnon, Rantanen, Nichushkin, and then you look at what they were able to add from Tampa, and again, just firepower galore here for Rock Republic with Nikita Kucherov, Anthony Cirelli, Andrej Palat, Alex Killorn, Nick Paul, and Braden Point. I mean, those are two pretty awesome lines from Tampa. Essentially all top six forwards. I mean, I think Nick Paul's the third line center, but he's been, he basically single-handedly helped them get past Toronto in that first round. He's had a great playoffs. Another guy like Arturi Lehkonen, who went for, Matthew Joseph and a first-round pick at the deadline. Everyone said Tampa's crazy. It's an overpayment. Much like everybody said that when they acquired Blake Coleman from New Jersey for Nolan Foote in a first-round pick. Are those overpayments? Sure, yeah, absolutely. On paper, they're overpayments. If Tampa has 3 straight Stanley Cups, I don't think anybody cares about the overpayment for Nick Paul. And he certainly scored some big goals in these playoffs to be worth it. And we'll see how he fares in this final championship series. Mentioned Alex Killorn. I think he's due. Andrej Palat, who they got from West Coast Express. He was probably Tampa's most consistent or best forward throughout, arguably. I mean, Kucherov was awesome too, but arguably Palat was one of their big difference makers against the Rangers. He was elevated to that top line with Braden Point sideline. He played with Kucherov and Stamkos, and Palat's just such a smart player. He's not an end-to-end overpowering offensive guy like McKinnon or somebody, but he piles up the points, and he's been great for Rock Republic. And speaking of Point, you see Braden Point at the bottom of the list there. Well, we can bump him up now because he's in the lineup tonight for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Hasn't played since Game 7 of the first round against Toronto when he was hurt there. That might be a lie. He might have tried playing a couple shifts, I think, against Florida, possibly. Although I don't think so. No, I don't think he played at all in the Florida series or the Rangers series. I think, yeah, this is it. Speak of the devil, graphic comes up on the screen. Braden Point, first game since Game 7 of the first round against Toronto. So he didn't play at all against the Panthers or Rangers, and Braden Point's back in the lineup. 21, you see him flying around there, although Colorado's in the O-zone. But Point's looking a lot better in this first shift or first couple shifts than he looked when he tried to gut it out against Toronto in Game 7 and had to leave that game where he was obvious lower body injury. But a huge performer for Tampa in their 2 championships so far. He's got a great playoff beard going, some good flow, and looks like Josh Manson is heading to the penalty box for the first penalty of the Stanley Cup Final. You see Josh Manson here on Rock Republic's roster, but Manson's getting a penalty on Nick Paul, so he held the stick of Nick Paul there. So a battle amongst Rock Republic players, Manson to the box. But we're talking about Braden Point, and obviously his impact on this final, how healthy he is and how productive he can be after missing 2 series is going to be a big telling point for Rock Republic, as well as obviously Tampa as they go to the power play here. Colorado out shooting Tampa 4-1 through 5 minutes, but big opportunity here for the Lightning. Again, Darcy Kemper hasn't been tested that much. He missed the last few games of the Edmonton Conference Final. He was injured in the first round when a stick went through his mask by Ryan Johansson in Nashville. Didn't play a lot in the St. Louis series either. He's been in and out of the lineup all playoffs, but he's getting the start here in Game 1, and Braden Point's out there on the top power play unit as Nikita Kucherov fires wide and Stamkos retrieves it. But again, this Tampa power play, you don't want to give him too many chances as Cirelli just missed backdoor there. But good to see Braden Point out there already on the power play. That tells you that he's not just taking a casual shift here and there. He's going to be a full-time player for the Lightning, at least early on in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. We talked about the forwards, and again, when you look at McKinnon and Kucherov and Rantanen, and just the manpower advantage, they're going to have 3 extra forwards dressed every night. It's hard not to side with Rock Republic as far as the forwards go, and then same on defense. I mean, we talked about Victor Hedman, who's got the puck right now, quarterbacking this Tampa power play, but you also got Cale Makar, who might be, if Colorado wins the Stanley Cup, I think Makar, the way he dominated and shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, I thought he did a masterful job against Edmonton. Really showed everybody not only can he put up the points, but he can defend one-on-one against the best players in the league, which we all knew Victor Hedman could do. Now we know Cale Makar could do that on the biggest stage. So I think when you're talking about Conn Smythe candidates, I do like Andrei Vasilevsky with Tampa, what he's done thus far. And for Colorado, as much as I like McKinnon, I think Makar is probably my front runner, my vote for Colorado heading into this Stanley Cup final. Embarrassment of riches, Rock Republic has both Hedman and Makar as Norris Trophy finalists. I believe Hedman's in the finals. I think it's Makar, Hedman, and it's Makar, Hedman, and Roman Josi, who might be the favorite for the Norris, but because he had a real, one of the best seasons by a defenseman since I think Ray Bourque in the mid '90s. But and obviously Ray Bourque won his one and only cup with Colorado. I believe that was 2002 when Bourque won with Colorado. So 20 years ago already. That was the year I graduated high school. So the big 20-year reunion coming up. I guess at the end of this month back home. Some people are getting together, but doesn't feel like 20 years ago, but it was. And now we're seeing Cale Makar have the kind of impact that Ray Bourque did way back when. And like I said, Roman Josi had that type of season as well for Nashville. Colorado killed off that first power play. Tampa had some good zone time, but not a lot of showing they got 2 shots there. But Kemper didn't have to make a real grade A save. Couple opportunities went wide, it looked like. But, there's Colorado opens the scoring. That's going to be Rantanen or Landeskog. Rantanen's shot through a bit of a partial screen. Here's your first shift after killing off a penalty. Get the big boys out there. Looks like the goal is going to go to Landeskog of the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies draw first blood on the goal scoring side, although Rantanen shot the puck. So that's going to cancel out with Landeskog. They're both going to get 2.5 fantasy points there. But that's Bo Byram leading the rush. So Grizzlies are going to get 2 out of the 3 points here. And I don't know if Landeskog touched that before it went over the line. I think it was going in, but that's snuck through the armpit under the glove on Vasilevsky, which doesn't happen often. And it does look like Landeskog touches this before it crosses the line, although I think it was going in, but never hurts to give it a nudge. And I think that'll be Landeskog's goal. But Rantanen sneaks the shot through Vasilevsky. Landeskog, the captain of Colorado, gets them on the board first, gets the building rocking here in Denver. Gets me up on Tony as far as our bet goes for game 1 tonight. I took Colorado. Tony took Tampa. And then you go back to that goaltending decision for Rock Republic. They went with Vasilevsky over Kemper. Well, now Kemper's probably got a better stat line at this point in the night. Then obviously Vasilevsky, who just allowed a goal. We'll check out the healthy scratches or the scratches for Rock Republic here momentarily. We'll just finish recapping their roster. Cale Makar and Devin Taves from Colorado. As mentioned, they were a pairing against Edmonton, and they dominated that series. They were, they're not physically imposing guys, but they dominated possession, transition game, everything. Like they shut it down and they turned it around, transitioned it up the ice. Just a masterful performance from Makar and Taves. Josh Manson, hard-nosed guy. He got the first penalty of the Stanley Cup final. They killed it off and scored on the ensuing shift, but he's there with Rock Republic as their sort of number 3 defenseman from Colorado. Obviously, Samuel Girard would have been a big part of this run, but he's injured. We talked about Kadri being out for the Grizzlies. Rock Republic is missing Girard, who was a real impact player early on in the playoffs and got taken out by a hit by Ivan Barbashev. Forget what game that was in the St. Louis series, second round, but Girard's out for the playoffs with a broken sternum. And he had a real, he's been a good player all along, but kind of under the radar in Colorado. And he was really standing out in these playoffs. But like I said, he goes down. Bowen Byram steps up. And there you've seen Bowen Byram with an assist on the opening goal of the Stanley Cup final. He led the rush and dropped it off to Rantanen, whose shot got through Vasilevsky, and Landeskog was there to clean it up. So great to see Bo Byram on the score sheet so early in the Stanley Cup final as Nichushkin gets a chance and scores. McKinnon turnover, gets it to Nichushkin, and Vasilevsky will want that one back. I wasn't sure if he saw that first one from Rantanen. I don't think he did, but this one looked like a clean look from the high slot. Nichushkin scored some big goals against Edmonton as well. Had some strong performances there, but McKinnon gets the turnover, keeps it in the zone. Off a skate, that was. Let's recap what happened here. So Tampa's trying to clear it out. It's actually Hedman who goes up the wall. Makar pinches down, McKinnon turns it over, and then that's just a shot that Vasilevsky stops. I won't even say 99 out of 100 times. He stops at 100 out of 100. May have went off Zach Bogosian, but that's top of the circle, wrister. Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a better angle. It absolutely. My apologies, Andrei Vasilevsky. Bogosian tips that, trying to block it, tips it past his own goaltender, and we're 2-0 Colorado. McKinnon's on the board. Nichushkin's on the board. Don't know if Makar will get a second assist. I think his pressure turned it over, but I don't think he touched the puck. So I'm guessing that's just going to be Nichushkin from McKinnon. But there's a big goal for Rock Republic as you see their roster with both McKinnon and Nichushkin on the lineup. So 2-0 midway through the first period. Colorado, the hosts, hosting Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. They have home ice advantage here, and they're making it count here early in the first period of Game 1. On the other side, Victor Hedman takes a minus there, as you've seen. He was on the ice. He had the clearing attempt that McKinnon managed to keep in, so he takes a minus for Rock Republic. But they have a great three from both sides as far as the defense goes. Victor Hedman, Mikhail Sergachev, who when Hedman got hurt towards the end of the Game 7 against the Rangers, it was really Lafreniere had a high hit on Hedman, and it was Sergachev who stepped up and took Hedman's role and was on the power play and everything else. Sergachev's been getting stronger as these playoffs go on for Tampa, which, again, another player they acquired for Jonathan Drouin from Montreal way back when. It feels like a few years ago now, but he's been a big part of their Stanley Cup championships, and he's getting better as these playoffs go on, as Darcy Kemper makes a pretty good save there to sort of get himself into the playoffs. And I think Colorado's going to keep shooting on Vasilevsky because even though one was deflected and one was screened, he looks... perhaps if there's such a thing as rattling Andrei Vasilevsky, he might be a little rattled right now. And last but not least for Rock Republic's rosters, they go to commercial break. Ryan McDonough, another veteran guy for Tampa who's been such a big part of their championships, especially last year. He was super impressive in their run and defeating Montreal in the Cup final. And he was good against Dallas the year before too. But yeah, you look at this roster, 23 players, versus 13 for the Grizzlies. That manpower advantage is big, but let's take a look at the roster decisions tonight for Rock Republic because they had to scratch 2 forwards, 1 defenseman who we know is going to be Samuel Girard because he's hurt, and then the goaltender who we know is the goaltender they obviously benched is Darcy Kemper because they went with Vasilevsky. There you see Vasilevsky at minus 0.8 fantasy points, so he's got a negative rating so far to start this one because of the fact that Colorado's up 2-0. But here you see the scratches. So Nick Aube-Kubel, NAK as they call him, is out, as well as Logan O'Connor. So 2 of the fourth liners are in and out of the lineup. Well, O'Connor's been pretty effective throughout the playoffs. Aube-Kubel's been in and out of the lineup. They're scratched tonight for Rock Republic. And as mentioned, Girard's out injured. He won't be back for the rest of these playoffs. He'll be hopefully ready for the start of next season, recovering from a broken sternum. Hopefully he's got the strength to lift the Stanley Cup. If Colorado wins, he'll probably do everything he can to lift that cup over his head because he was a big part of it through 2 rounds and through a lot of their recent playoff runs. And then Darcy Kemper, obviously. So you see the goaltending. Darcy Kemper's at 0.8. He's only got the 4 saves so far, but a win gives him a bonus 2.5 fantasy points, whereas a loss would obviously hurt Vasilevsky. We're early on, still midway through the first period, but Kemper's at positive 0.8 and Vasilevsky's at minus 0.8. But you see it's a close matchup so far, 11.27 fantasy points for Rock Republic. They're leading the Grizzlies, who have 8.15, but the Grizzlies got the goal from Landeskog. He's a +2 already. They got Comper, they got Ross Colton, Hagel. Who else is productive for them early on? Stamkos has a shot and a hit. There you see Bo Byram with the assist. So their 2 big players so far are Landeskog with that opening goal, which was assisted by Byram. So that gave the Grizzlies a good start. And on the flip side, as mentioned, obviously Manson had the penalty, but the big goal was they got an assist from Rantanen on the first goal by Landeskog. But then they got the goal and the assist from Nichushkin and McKinnon on the 2-0 goal. So that gave Rock Republic the early lead here tonight and to start the Klein Cup final as we watch Game 1 of the Stanley Cup final midway through the first period. Hot start for the Avs, spotting me a 2-0 lead on Tony's Tampa guys tonight. But again, this is... only Game 1. I think the 2-time defending champs get better as series go on, and they do a bit of a feeling out process. There's going to be no panic in Tampa, put it that way. There you see Corey Perry, and I never mentioned Corey Perry, but Rock Republic, not only do they have a full 23-man roster, but when they defeated West Coast Express, they had to choose 4 out of 8 available forwards to lease for the Klein Cup final, because they only had 4 spots amongst their forwards to fill, 4 empty spots, and there was up to 8 to choose from. So they took the obvious. They took McKinnon and Rantanen right off the bat, no questions there. And then they took Nichushkin and Palat. And again, Nichushkin's been great all playoffs, pending unrestricted free agent. He's going to get paid next year. So, in fact, he scored it already here tonight. Shows that he was a smart choice by Rock Republic. And they took Andrej Palat. As you see, Burakovsky firing wide on a partial break. But they took Palat over Corey Perry. That was really the decision. The other 3 forwards were pretty obvious they weren't going to select. But really it came down to, do you want Nichushkin, Palat, or Perry? Do you think Tampa's going to three-peat? Then do you want Palat and Perry instead of Nichushkin? Or do you want, Nichushkin and Perry instead of Palat? Difficult decision, but of course Palat up with Stamkos and Kucherov. Hard not to take him, but Corey Perry, not part of the Klein Cup final. He was omitted, left off the roster by Rock Republic, the most difficult roster decision for them heading into this Klein Cup final. And again, Corey Perry, a guy that has been to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, twice a loser with Dallas and Montreal, both times obviously up against Tampa. If you can't beat him, join him. Now he's a member of the Lightning, trying to make it 3rd time the charm, but he won't be getting his name on the Klein Cup, because obviously the roster here for Rock Republic, if they win, they're going to get those players' names as well as their ownership group, their scouts, their staff. Everybody will be engraved on that Klein Cup, but Corey Perry won't get it. He might get his name on the Stanley Cup again this year. Like I said, he's already got one from Anaheim in his younger years. He might get one here with Tampa, depending how this series plays out. He might get his name on the Stanley Cup this year, but he won't be on the Klein Cup because he was left off the roster by Rock Republic in a difficult roster decision. So just catching up here on the chat. Let's see where we're at. So yeah, that was Kemper. Dean says, yeah, Kemper. Yep, Tony, we're on. I didn't have a chance to go back on a Telegram there and reply, but definitely I'm down for the bet, especially now that it's 2-0 Avs. I didn't want to think about it. Maybe I should have thought about it and seen how the first 10 minutes went before I took you up on the bet, but we were on before the puck dropped, and so far so good for Colorado. But again, a long game, and Tampa, just the fact they're so battle tested, you can never really count Tampa out, and they're going to get better as this series goes on, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get better as this game goes on. Certainly Vasilevsky will get into a zone here throughout this series, and he won't be giving up 2 fairly soft goals by his standards, although one was a screen and one was a deflection. And now Tampa's really going to be pushing to test Kemper, because like I said, Kemper hasn't played a lot in these playoffs. See, we know he's battling some sort of injury believed to be a vision problem with his eyes. That was obviously the injury from Ryan Johansson incident. There you see they're trying to play Braden Point heavy, and here comes Nick Paul. Speak of the devil, and he's got one. Tampa's on the board. Nick Paul there. We talk about a guy that went for Matthew Joseph in a first-round pick at the deadline, a pending UFA. Big overpayment by Tampa, but there he's on the board in the Stanley Cup final. We're at 2-1. And that was just kind of he got behind the defense. Puck was hopping a bit. And, he snuck in behind who's that? He got behind Eric Johnson. And not the most finesse goal, but as we saw in the Toronto series, Nick Paul, he almost lost control and then sort of flubbed it. And there it is. It's in the net behind Darcy Kemper, and Tampa's on the board. But Nick Paul's had a big part in these playoffs. Yeah, that's a sloppy breakaway or partial breakaway goal, but he'll take it. Nick Paul gets Tampa on the board. 7:34 remaining in the first period. This one's a long way from over, so I won't start celebrating my big win over Tony and start demanding he send over the score coin just yet. It's a long way to go here tonight. 2 evenly matched teams in the NHL, and fairly even as you see in the UFHL. That was a goal for Rock Republic. They have Nick Paul. Waiting to see who got the assists here, but it looks like this is a big-time goal for Rock Republic. Yeah, it's Braden Point and Victor Hedman are going to get the assists, and that's an all Rock Republic goal. As you see, they shoot up to 20 fantasy points. They got the goal and both assists with Hedman and Point. So there you see Braden Point back in the lineup, and he's on the score sheet right away. First Tampa goal, the Stanley Cup final. Braden Point gets an assist. And that was Hedman that threw the puck up to kind of allow Paul to get behind Erik Johnson, who should have done a better job picking him up. Nick Paul's not a burner. He's not a big speedster. He's a heavy guy and good body position. He plays he uses his size really well in the forecheck. But that's probably one that Erik Johnson's got to play better. And Darcy Kemper didn't exactly take away the bottom of the net either. He was a bit of a starfish there. So nonetheless, Nick Paul's on the board. Big goal for Rock Republic with the goal scorer and both assists. Nick Paul from Victor Hedman and Braden Point. Now Tampa's in pressing again, trying to get that equalizer. Dean says 2-0 Hamilton in the OHL Game 7 in Hamilton. That's big as well, because whoever wins there is obviously going to join the Edmonton Oil Kings, who just won the WHL championship the other night, along with Shawinigan, the QMJHL champs, and the host, St. John. The Memorial Cup this year's hosted by the St. John Sea Dogs, also of the QMJHL. So we'll see if Hamilton can hold on there and close that out. Up 2-0 on home ice in Game 7. Steve Stais, former NHLers, the GM, part owner of the Hamilton Bulldogs in the OHL. They were the regular season champs. They were the favorites to win all the way. They actually swept the first 3 rounds, 12-0. And then Windsor's put up a heck of a fight. I thought North Bay would put up a fight, and they got swept. And Windsor, out of nowhere, was actually leading that series, I believe, 3-2 and 2-1. Windsor's been leading that series all along. But, Hamilton went ahead 3-2. Windsor forced the Game 7 on their home ice. But Windsor's been great that whole series and put up Mark Savard's the coach of Windsor, and Jay McKee's the coach of Hamilton. So 2 ex-NHL players. Mark Savard rumored to be in the running maybe for the Dallas job. I've heard him come up in the Boston job as well. So a lot of people, you watch that Windsor Spitfire team play, they don't have a lot of star power. They don't have a lot of firepower. I mean, Wyatt Johnston, Dallas first-round pick. Maybe that's why Mark Savard's connected to Dallas. I don't think he stands out every game watching in these playoffs, but I'm pretty sure he led the OHL in scoring in the regular season. Wyatt Johnston led the OHL in scoring. Logan Stankoven of Kamloops, hometown kid in Kamloops, and the Blazers led the WHL in scoring as a second-round pick for Dallas. And you look at this final matchup with obviously Wyatt Johnston with Windsor up against Artem Grushnikov of Hamilton, a Russian import defenseman for Hamilton, who also is a Dallas second-round pick. Him and Stankoven went back-to-back in the second round. So what a draft for the Dallas Stars when you got guys like, you got Wyatt Johnston, you got Logan Stankoven, and you got Artem Grushnikov all battling it out. At least the Hamilton guys, Hamilton-Windsor, one of them is going to make it to the Memorial Cup. But that series has been really good. Let's see here. What else we got going on in the good old UFHL chat here tonight on the Klein Cup Playoffs watch party? And my chat's sort of bugging up here, but I'm going to try and get back up to where I left off. Here we go. Tony's also, and there we got Dave took him up on this one. He says 200 SCO Grizzlies versus Rock Republic, and Dave Kleinsaucer says, I'm down, I'll put 200 on the Grizzlies. And Rock Republic, Dean was asking who they started. They started Vasilevsky. So, so we got 2 of the founders going at it. Tony says the Grizzlies are overrated. The Grizzlies are owned by his parents, Connie and Andy Krandick, or Connie Krandick. So he's going to go with Rock Republic tonight. It's looking good so far. Rock Republic's up 21-9 so far, thanks to that big goal from Nick Paul with both assists, Braden Point and Victor Hedman for Rock Republic. The big 7.5 fantasy points off one goal. I guess plus the shot, plus the plus minuses. I mean, it adds up when you get all 3 guys in on a scoring play. It's probably over. Well, I guess for sure it's over 10 points because you're getting a +3 from the 3 players. Plus you're getting the shot on goal. So yeah, you're looking at almost a 10-12 point scoring play when that happens. So big goal there for Rock Republic, and So Tony's winning one bet and losing the other bet tonight. He's got Tampa to win this game for 1,000 score coin, but he's gonna try and recoup his losses there. Well, maybe losses. If he has to cough up 1,000 there, he can at least potentially take 200 score coin off fellow founder Dave Kleinsaucer as they battle it out. Dave's taking the Grizzlies and Tony's got Rock Republic tonight. So lots of fun here going on with all these little side bets and challenges throughout the UFHL. What else do we got? We got Andy Mack in the house. We got Nick saying he's jumped on watching the game from the beginning. Tony says, I bet Larry his paycheck on the game. Yeah, that's about right. What else do we got going on here? Yeah, exactly. Johnson on that back check, not picking up Nick Paul. Like I said, it's not Brayden Point beating you there with his wheels. That's Nick Paul's a great player. Like I said, heavy on the forecheck, but he's got pretty heavy boots. He's not the fastest guy. He might beat Pat Maroon in a straight ahead 40-meter dash on the ice, but not too many other guys. But hey, he's a very effective player for Tampa, and we saw Nick Paul at the World Championships last year for Canada when they won gold. I believe he set up the overtime winner there and had a really good showing on the big ice there. And he was good for Ottawa all year. A big part of their leadership group traded to Tampa, and he's been a great addition for Tampa, much like Arturi Laikonen's been for Colorado as far as those trade deadline ringers go. And yes, they're overpayments, but either one of those guys help you win a cup. They're well worth that first-round pick and a good young player. So here we see Colorado getting their first power play of the game. 4 minutes to go. That's Mikhail Sergachev of Rock Republic getting the penalty. So Rock Republic's got both penalties so far. They got Josh Manson and Mikhail Sergachev in the box. Big save there from Vasilevsky on a one-timer from McKinnon. Makar slid it over. Great shot by McKinnon, nice and low, but Vasilevsky seems like he's getting more in the zone now at 2-1. It's a close game. Colorado's out shooting them 12-6, doubling them in shots, and maybe that's, when you talk about that goaltending decision for Rock Republic, starting Vasilevsky, maybe you're looking at the shots there, and here we got another penalty. It looks like Cirelli is getting, he looked like he tripped Makar potentially, or Makar went down. So we're going to have a 5-on-3 for Colorado for 1:33 with 3:40 to go in the first period. So potential big turning point as the hosts' Avs are up 2-1, and now they're going to get a long 5-on-3 here with all that firepower. So Vasilevsky's about to get tested, especially when your best penalty killer, Anthony Cirelli, is getting the box. And I don't know if Makar went down light there or lost an edge or what, but he barely touched him as John Cooper didn't like that call. But nonetheless, we got Cirelli and Sergachev in the box and long 5-on-3 for 1:33 for the Avs. So they're going to try and restore that 2-goal lead. Penalty killers are Bellemare, Chernak, and McDonough, but obviously you see that firepower with Rantanen, McKinnon, Landeskog taking the draw. Tampa won the draw, but they're going to struggle to get this out as Rantanen jumped up. That's Arturi Laikonен, the fifth member of this power play, net front presence, kind of taking over the Nazem Kadri spot. And obviously Makar, the lone defenseman out there, as McKinnon dangles his way in. McKinnon, he's got the assist, but he'd love to pump in a goal here before the end of this first period. He's not the captain. Landeskog's the captain, but McKinnon's really the face of this franchise in Colorado, and he's as driven of a player in the NHL as you'll find. He hates losing, and he wants to be a big part. He wants to be a difference maker every night as he gets a shot off there, and Vasilevsky blockers that one away as Colorado works it around on this two-man advantage. Still 50 seconds to go. Some good looks, but Tampa's doing a good job blocking shots so far and letting Vasilevsky see the ones that do get through. So back to McKinnon again, one-timer again, another stop from Vasilevsky. This is a big test for Vasilevsky here as McKinnon breaks in again, works it down to Landeskog, back out to Rantanen, over to McKinnon. Another one-timer, another block by Eric Chernak. Chernak and McDonough, they're just eating these up. Oh, but not that one. Speak of the devil, Arturi Laikonen. We talk about guys that are ringers. Nick Paul's got a goal. Now Arturi Laikonen's got a goal. So every time your favorite team trades a good young prospect and a first-round pick for a guys that you'd consider third liners. Well, here's what can happen when you pick up a third liner at the deadline. Arturi Lehkonen on the board in the Stanley Cup final, power play goal during that two-man advantage still. Rantanen backdoor redirection for Lehkonen. I believe Landeskog is going to get the second assist, so this is good news for the Grizzlies. They get the goal and the second assist. Yeah, it was Landeskog back to Rantanen, backdoor to Lehkonen. So you got Landeskog and Lehkonen from the Grizzlies, Rantanen from Rock Republic on the scoring play. But as you'll see here, the Grizzlies are going to shoot up a bit. And they still got 50 seconds to go on a 5-on-4 now. Power play for Colorado still with 2:29 to go in the first period. Avs are up 3-1. There you see the Grizzlies jump up to 16 points. So they're keeping it close tonight. Lehkonen's seventh goal of the playoffs already for Arturi Lehkonen. Talk about a guy that's paying off, because you look at all the guys that were available at the deadline. A lot of people talk about Claude Giroux. Colorado had cap space. They could have went after Giroux. They could have went after some of these bigger names. And the guy they ended up getting on deadline day, to some people saying, oh, that's all they got was Arturi Lehkonen, and they gave up a first-round pick and Justin Barron. Well, Arturi Lehkonen's got 7 goals in the playoffs, scored the overtime winner to send them to the Stanley Cup final, and now he's got a goal in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup final to give him a 3-1 lead. So Jared Bednar and Joe Sakic, the GM who acquired Arturi Lehkonen, they have to be happy with what he's brought to the stage in the NHL. And the Grizzlies have been loving Lehkonen in the UFHL in the Klein Cup playoffs. Lehkonen's been a big part of the Grizzlies, advancing, like I said, past Red Army, past, I believe the Grizzlies defeated the Stallions in the first round, so road to the final, which, again, we can bring up the bracket here. Always good to look at, but the Grizzlies, when you look at the bracket, they defeated the Stallions in the first round, and then in the division final, they defeated the defending champions, last year's champion, Red Army, avenged a loss there. They had lost that matchup the year before. The Red Army defeated the Grizzlies in the Gretzky Division final, went on to win the Klein Cup. This year, the Grizzlies avenged that loss to Red Army, come out of the Gretzky Division final, and then defeat the Yetis in the Allen Conference final. Very close matchup. 7.3 fantasy points was all that separated that one. And you have to think if the Rangers win one more game there, and that could have definitely swung that as well. If that series went to Game 7 with the Rangers and Tampa, I think the Yetis would have pulled ahead. They had the manpower advantage there, but Grizzlies held on for the big win there, advancing only by 7.3 fantasy points. But so their path to the Klein Cup, they knocked out the Stallions, Red Army, and the Yetis. And then you look on the other side, Rock Republic's path, you can see there as well. They defeated a friendly rival, Donnie Talk and Kamikaze. Donnie was an original founding member of Rock Republic who left their 5-man ownership group, bought his own franchise with Kamikaze, and they clashed in that first round in the Orr Division semifinals or conference quarterfinals. And Rock Republic knocked out Kamikaze. And then in the Orr Division final, they knocked off the top seed in their division, the Titans. Rock Republic was the second seed in the Orr Division. The Titans were the number 1 seed in that division. Titans were second overall in the regular season. Rock Republic were 6th, but Rock Republic comes out of that division and then knocks off West Coast Express, who actually previously defeated the Howe division and the Founders Trophy winning regular season title, the Royals. Lost in the second round in that Howe division final. And then Rock Republic defeated West Coast Express in the Legends Conference Finals. So the road to the Klein Cup final for Rock Republic went through Kamikaze, Titans, and West Coast Express, while the Grizzlies went through the Stallions, Red Army, and the Yetis. So, definitely a great playoffs through Season 3 of the Klein Cup and of the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League, as we see first intermission here, and Colorado's up 3-1 on Tampa. But goals from Where did we start in this one? I'm trying to remember back now. We had Landeskog open the scoring, Colorado captain, Grizzlies for the Grizzlies. And then from there, we had, after Landeskog opened the scoring, we had second goals from Valeri Nichushkin of Rock Republic. Third goal of the night was Nick Paul of Rock Republic, and the fourth goal was Arturi Lehkonen of the Grizzlies. So when you look at the score, Rock Republic's up 29.02 to 16.61 for the Grizzlies. Again, I think that manpower advantage is adding some extra points there, because the actual scoring in the game tonight, we got 4 goals in the first period, 2 for the Grizzlies, Landeskog and Lehkonen, and 2 for Rock Republic with Nichushkin and Nick Paul. So 2 goals aside through the first period, keeping this one fairly close, even though Rock Republic's up by a little over 12 points, 12.4 fantasy points through the first period. But definitely we also have the games within the game, as we talked about. Another one we do is Score Coin, the SCO Picks contest. Which former number 1 overall pick and face of their franchise will produce more fantasy points in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final? Steven Stamkos or Nathan MacKinnon? And trying to see here what the wagers were on each side. I believe it was 300 in favor of MacKinnon versus 250 for Stamkos. There's 250 for Stamkos, and I want to say MacKinnon had 300 Score Coin wagered on his side here. Oh, 400. So there was a late one came in for MacKinnon. So there you see MacKinnon was the favorite, 400 to 250. MacKinnon over Stamkos. Not sure why that sometimes. There we go. So yeah, 400 for MacKinnon, 250 for Stamkos. 3 wagers in favor of MacKinnon to 1 for Stamkos. And certainly MacKinnon was on the scoreboard in that first period. He had the 1 assist, I believe. On the, just the 1 assist MacKinnon has on the Nichushkin goal. He had the primary assist there. 1 assist plus 2 with 3 shots on goal, 1 takeaway offset by 1 giveaway. So they cancel each other out. But 1 assist plus 2 and 3 shots on goal for 3.94 fantasy points. So a great start for MacKinnon. On the other side, Stamkos limited to, he had 2 shots on goal and a hit in the first period. He's at 0.65 fantasy points. So MacKinnon's a little over 3 fantasy points ahead, thanks to being obviously getting an assist as well as a plus 2 and 3 shots. So so far advantage MacKinnon as far as the faces of the franchises and the number 1 overall picks in the NHL draft. So, and on opposite sides here, obviously Stamkos with the Grizzlies and MacKinnon with Rock Republic. But that's going to be a fun game within the game to follow throughout the night, especially if I'm sure Stamkos will, and John Cooper will have lots to say in that first intermission, settle the guys down, regroup, come out and have a big pushback in the second period. I expect Tampa to. They're not going to let Colorado cakewalk the way through a 3-1 lead and take Game 1. Again, we got the side bets going in the chat here on the Klein Cup Playoffs watch party. We got the big boss Tony bet myself a 1,000 Score Coin that in favor of Tampa tonight. He's taking Tampa. I took Colorado. I said 4-2. They're up 3-1 so far. So that one's looking a little favorable for me so far. But on the flip side, Tony also has a 200 Score Coin, 200 SCO side bet, side wager with Dave Kleinsaucer, one of the founders. And in that case, Tony went with Rock Republic. After Dave took the Grizzlies with the first pick there, he grabbed the Grizzlies. And Tony came back with Rock Republic, and Tony's up on that wager. So he might actually only owe 800 out of pocket if Colorado wins, but Rock Republic stays ahead here. So hedging his bets, that's for sure. But a lot of fun through the first period. High caliber hockey as we expected. Arguably 2 best teams in the NHL going head to head here. A dream matchup for the league. This whole playoffs when Gary Bettman says, they're over $5.2 billion in revenue, it's because you're seeing matchups. You see McDavid and McKinnon in the conference finals. You got all this firepower and star power, and every in every series there's lots of intrigue, lots of good rivalries. So the playoffs couldn't be going better, and obviously they make a lot of money in the playoffs as well as the regular season. And a lot of fun with the TNT broadcast crew. I'm watching the Sportsnet feed with Ron McLean, Jennifer Botterill, Kelly Rudy, and Kevin Bieksa on the panel right now in the intermission. But obviously, a lot of people are watching the TNT broadcast where you got Wayne Gretzky, doesn't get any bigger than Gretz. And you got Paul Bissonnette adding some color with his skullet, looking like a young L.I. Afraidy, maybe better. And Paul Bissonnette's just such a cult hero, or cult. Well, I don't know what you call him, but yeah, he's definitely got a cult following, and a lot of people love Biz Nasty. He's toned it down a little bit on the nasty side, but he still gets some good one-liners in there that brings out that spit and chicklets humor from time to time. And certainly the skullet, the fact he had the bet going in the Battle of Alberta with Ryan Whitney, former Oiler, who is definitely on the Oiler bandwagon. A lot of people crediting Ryan Whitney with potentially getting travel opened up again out of Canada after all his rants from Pearson International Airport in Toronto, and trying to get back to Boston from Edmonton there. But Biz Nasty, Paul Bissonnette had to do quite the shave job on his head, losing that bet in the Battle of Alberta, and obviously seeing him introduce the starting lineup for the Oil Kings during their championship series, win over the Seattle Thunderbirds. That was a lot of fun. Just a real bigger than life personality, Paul Bissonnette. Not the greatest NHL player of all time, but you knew he was cut out for a career in media and comedy after his playing career, and so far so good on that front for Biz. And Gretzky, they're really helping grow the game. They got Messier on the ESPN broadcast team as well. The American networks really invested heavily in promoting and growing the game of hockey in the United States through guys like Messier and Gretzky and all of the other guys they've brought into those broadcast teams. Guys and girls, they got some great women on their broadcast teams as well. So growing the game at all levels and all genders throughout the United States. And again, as they grow that game, they bring in new fans, they bring in new money, they bring in new sponsors, advertisers. And that's what we're trying to emulate here in the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League and the UFFS platform. This is professional fantasy sports. This just isn't a bunch of guys running a fantasy league or managing their fantasy rosters and lineups. This is much bigger than that. It's an entire ecosystem, and there's professional branding. There's lots of opportunity for partnerships and sponsorships, advertising. It's the fantasy it mirrors the real world 1-to-1, 32 franchises, 23-man active roster, 50-man overall contracts, 50 overall contracts per franchise. So every player that's relevant in the NHL has also got value in the Ultimate Fantasy Hockey League, and definitely as close to being a real world GM or scout or whatever role you want in hockey. I can guarantee you the UFHL is a great place to really learn the trade and perfect your craft. It can be a stepping stone for some people that are looking to, especially because you're working with essentially the CBA. You're working with the same contracts. What you learn as a manager in the UFHL can certainly be, it's a resume right there on the blockchain, and it can certainly be applied to real world jobs in hockey as well. But Elliot Friedman dropping all sorts of info here, but I got the sound muted here, but I know he's got lots to go, especially today, a big day for the league when they do sort of the State of the Union address. One thing they mentioned, the Stanley Cup will not go to Belarus or Russia this summer. Not sure how many. Valerina Chishkin's obviously a Russian player. Not too many Russians left. I shouldn't say that. We got, on the other side, you got Kucherov, you got Vasilevsky, you got Sergachev. There are lots of Russians involved in this final, so that has some implications. Evander Kane grievance with San Jose, that, again, the Ice Vikings, they lost Evander Kane for half the season, and he came back, couldn't have landed in a better spot as McDavid's wingman. in Edmonton and really helped the Ice Vikings go from, I think they were in 12th place when Edmonton signed Kane, all the way up to made a run into the top 10, finished 7th in regular season standings as they were trying to defend their regular season title as Founders Trophy winners. But it'll be interesting to see where Kane ends up next year and what his next contract will be, because we all know he's had some issues with bankruptcy and taxes and stuff too, so he needs to cash in and chase the dollar a little bit here, although he's said he wouldn't mind returning to Edmonton, and certainly Edmonton will make some sort of an offer, but seems far-fetched that Edmonton can find a way to fit him in into their cap picture. But some people said that in years past they wouldn't be able to keep a guy like Tyson Barrie or sign a guy like Zach Hyman and stuff like that, and Ken Holland's done a pretty good job managing that cap. And now that Mikko Koskinen has went back to Finnish goaltender, is signed in Switzerland with Lugano, there's not many players, if any, on that Edmonton roster that are still holdovers with their current contract from the Peter Chiarelli era. That roster is really Ken Holland's going forward, and obviously Edmonton made it to the conference final and then got swept by Colorado, but still a taste of some success for the Oilers, especially winning that Battle of Alberta. That was sort of their cup within the playoffs. Hadn't been a Battle of Alberta since 1990 or 1991, I think it was, 31 years. So great to have the Battle of Alberta back. Edmonton won that in 5 games over Calgary. I think Edmonton had won 4 out of 5 previous Battle of Alberta, so I think that makes it 5 out of 6 for the Oilers over the Flames. But that success was wiped out by Colorado in the conference finals with the sweep over Edmonton, while Tampa took out the Rangers in the Eastern Conference final. Just checking in here, seeing what's going on in that Hamilton game, because that's intriguing to me too, the OHL final. Let's bring it up here. We got still 2-0 after the second period. Mason McTavish and Avery Hayes with the goals for Hamilton. And then obviously when you talk about ringers, or we talked about Nick Paul and Arturi Lehkonen being sort of the third line guys, and they didn't get Claude Giroux or whoever as like a real premier ringer at the deadline. These two NHL teams, Tampa and Colorado. Steve Staios, we mentioned GM of the year in the OHL. His son Nathan Staios, actually, Steve acquired Nathan. He's an overage defenseman in the OHL. He won Defenseman of the Year, Defender of the Year in the OHL as well. So quite the year for the Staios family and the Hamilton Bulldogs. But they acquired the big ringer. I guess he'd be even a more of a marquee player even than Claude Giroux at the OHL level. But Mason McTavish, and talk about paying dividends, that's his 15th goal of the OHL playoffs to open the scoring. Just 2:04 into the first period for the Hamilton Bulldogs. And then in midway through the second period, Avery Hayes from Arbor Hikash, I believe is his name. I think the X is silent. Kamikaze just signed him. He's a Montreal Canadiens defense prospect. A guy who went undrafted in the OHL as well as the NHL draft, which those are rare stories. He definitely went undrafted in the NHL, signed as a free agent by Montreal. And Kamikaze, Donnie Tall, big Canadiens fan, actually just signed Arbor Hikash from his affiliated scout, Easton Scouting Solution, his assistant general manager with Kamikaze. Both of them were, again, part of that original group with Rock Republic. So we know what bandwagon they're on here in the Klein Cup final, but they brought up Arbor Hikash just recently signed with Kamikaze on their protected list in the UFHL. He had an assist on that Avery Hayes goal, as did Logan Morrison, who, when you're looking at overagers that could get drafted this year in the NHL, Logan Morrison's had a great season, and he's played his way up into that, top 3, top 5 overagers. I've seen some people say he's this year's Tanner Pearson, and they expect an NHL team to take him in that, especially because this year's considered a weaker draft class. Some are expecting some overagers to go outside the top 20, but inside the first round. A guy like Logan Morrison could be a guy like Tanner Pearson was a few years ago. You look at a guy like Yegor Chinnikov. Columbus shocked the hockey world by taking Yegor Chinnikov 21st overall in 2020. an overager out of Russia. I think I had him ranked in like the 5th or 6th round that year. A lot of people didn't even have him ranked at all. Had some success in the KHL, then blew up in the KHL, came over and it was impactful in his rookie season with Columbus. Actually was traded in the UFHL from the Eliminators to the Battlehawks in a blockbuster where Alexander Holtz went the other way. Battlehawks got back Chinnikov as well as a number of other depth pieces, but Chinnikov was sort of the key piece in that trade. So, but you look at a guy like Yegor Chinnikov, and I actually really like another Russian, bit smaller than Chinnikov, but Dmitry Buchelnikov as a potential, Artemi Panarin type guy that could be another one of those candidates. I know the Russian factor right now, but as far as pure skill goes, I think he's close to a first-round talent in this year's draft class. Spoiler alert, in my final rankings, I actually bumped him down from the middle of the 2nd round to the right at the top of the 3rd round. I think he's still in my top 70. Buchelnikov is. Logan Morrison, I think, is in my top 100 or right around 100 on my rankings. But Buchelnikov is a guy that, I think my tier there is 41 to 80. And he could easily be in that top 50. And if someone wants to reach for an overager who might be closer to NHL ready, maybe they take Buchelnikov. Within the UFHL and the UFFS ecosystem, great story there. Wise Guys Prospects and Nelson Martins actually won a contest, a giveaway from Fanalytica over a year ago. So this is going back to the very start of Buchelnikov's draft year. Fanalytica ran their tool and sort of did a promotion where it brought out some of the top available players based on their analytics, and Buchelnikov was on the list, and actually Rob Love and Dan Tinsman brought the list to me and said, here's the guys that our analytics sort of highlighted as potential top unowned prospects in UFFS. I want to say it was for the promotion I want to say was when we had our 100th scout sign up. Join UFFS, we decided to give away a free prospect in hockey. At that time, we still had only hockey, and when we got to either 75 scouts or 100 scouts, we did a draw, and the winning scout was Nelson Martins of Wise Guys Prospects, and they were going to be awarded one free prospect based on Fanalytica rankings and my feedback. And when they brought the list to me, I said, you know what, the guy that I like on that list, Dmitry Buchelnikov. I said, there's a number of guys there I think will get drafted in the next couple of years, but a real sleeper guy that was flying under the radar in the UFFS ecosystem was Dmitry Buchelnikov. Remember that name. He might be a 7th-round pick this year like Alexander Pashin was for Carolina. Carolina just signed Pashin, but remember the name Buchelnikov because Panarin was undrafted altogether. Kirill Kaprizov, I think he's a 5th-round pick. Some of these Russians, Pashin, like I said, a 7th-round pick. Dmitry Reshevsky, another guy, was an overager that was drafted, I believe, in the 5th round by Winnipeg last year. And actually, me and Ian Constable were just talking. I believe he traded for him in another dynasty league or traded up to take Dmitry Reshevsky. We were talking about him last night in DM. But Reshevsky's another one of those Russian guys that's a bit of a late bloomer and could really be a guy like Chinnikov or even potentially a Panarin type guy when he comes over. So keep an eye on some of these Russians. But again, overagers in the NHL draft, it'll be interesting to see how many of them potentially go in the top 64, or I guess top 65, top 2 rounds. I say 65 because actually Minnesota is getting a compensation draft pick as the second period's underway here. Sorry for rambling. Makar's rambling up the ice, leading the rush, dumping it in, and Vasilevsky plays it away from him, but Nichushkin cuts that off, and Braden Point gets the clear. Feeds it up here to Ross Colton. So this line is actually Braden Point with Nick Paul and Ross Colton. So bit of a different look for the forwards for Tampa tonight. This line was together in the first period already, but a bit of a different look. But certainly having some success. This line, they got Tampa's only goal so far, and they're out here to start the second period with a good shift again. Where was I going with that? But yeah, interesting to see, again, when I said 65 instead of 64 in the NHL, Minnesota's getting a rare or somewhat rare compensation pick. They attempted to sign 2018 first overall pick Philip Johansson. I believe they took him 24th or 28th overall, 24th overall in in 2018. He didn't want to sign with Minnesota, so they relinquished his rights on June 1st at that deadline. And here comes Stamkos breaking in now. He hasn't had much going on. Oh, man, Stamkos blocker saved by Darcy Kemper. Big stop, and then Stamkos leaps over a defender, centers the rebound to Andrej Palat, and he just fanned on his shot, or that could have been definitely a 3-2 hockey game back to a 1-goal game, as Stamkos has a great shift here for Tampa. But yeah, anyway, Philip Johansson goes unsigned, released his rights by Minnesota. Because he was a first-round pick, Minnesota gets the 24th pick of the second round, which I think is 56th overall, something like that. So they get a compensation pick. So there's actually, in the NHL, there'll be 65 picks in the top 2 rounds. In the UFHL entry auction, only 64. We don't mirror the compensation pick there. But Philip Johansson actually has since signed a 2-year contract with the Vancouver Canucks. So he was a reach at that spot in 2018, a surprise pick. Not a lot of people had him pegged for that range of the draft. Most had him as outside the top 50, somewhere in that late second round, early third round. Minnesota reached on him, and he hasn't developed that well. I'm sure there wasn't a bidding war for him, but Vancouver did end up signing him once he was rights were relinquished by Minnesota. So we'll see what becomes of Philip Johansson, but Minnesota adds an extra second-round pick as compensation for him not signing a legitimate contract offer from the Wild. But here we are, 2 minutes into the second period. Great pace to the start of the second period. The feeling out process is over, and this is some high-level hockey being played here now. And shots are 17-10 in favor of Colorado. They're up 3-1. It's heck of a game, heck of a start to the Stanley Cup final. Again, you got 4 goals in the first period. Not quite Calgary-Edmonton or Colorado-Edmonton as far as fireworks for offense, but Darcy Kemper, credit to him. He's allowed 1 goal on 10 shots, but he just made a big save on Steven Stamkos. He's been out of action for quite a while. Obviously, you love to see him get some, as we call it, run support or goal support. 3 goals from the Avs in the first period. Allows him to settle in and not have too many nerves, being that he hasn't played in a while and maybe battling some vision issues or some injury issues. But yeah, Darcy Kemper's been solid, made a big save on Stamkos early in the second period. And if Colorado can get good goaltending from Kemper, then that would potentially make me second guess my prediction, because part of that Tampa in 6, even though, like I said, prior to the playoffs, UFHL, NHL playoff pool, I predicted Tampa, Colorado final. Colorado wins. Now I've flipped, and I'm taking Tampa in 6 in this final. In the final round of the UFHL, NHL playoff pool, I went Tampa in 6. Part of that was I just thought Vasilevsky was the difference in this matchup. I think he can shut the door on Colorado's offense, and I really think Tampa has enough offense to get to whether it's Kemper or Pavel Francouz. So it'll be interesting, though. We'll see how Kemper holds up, but if he can match, put up a good showing against Vasilevsky, I think that changes things in favor of Colorado potentially. But it's going to be, I can't imagine this is a 4 or 5 game series either way. I think we're getting into Game 6, Game 7 in this Stanley Cup final. And I haven't seen all the predictions from the 16 contestants in UFHL NHL playoff pool, but I'd be pretty surprised if anybody took four games. I don't think anybody would take the sweep unless they're far behind in the standings, and you need you get 6 points for getting the team right and 6 points for getting the number of games right. So maybe you do take a sweep just on a fluke chance that if you get it right, you get 12 points, and nobody else is likely to get those extra 6 points for the sweep, right? So some strategy, maybe if somebody took a sweep and they weren't near the top of the standings, but logistically, I don't think too many people are predicting a sweep here. I don't think many are even taking the 5 games. I think a lot of people are thinking a long series. As you see Corey Perry and Pat Maroon mixing it up. Again, if you're thinking long series, you're going to set that physical tone, and Tampa can grind on you. And I think Tampa in this matchup will want to, lean on Colorado and have a physical advantage. But looks like Maroon's in the box here. I don't know if anybody else is in. We got some rowdy Avs fans. That guy's been sitting there all game behind the penalty box. there's been a few penalties for Tampa already, and I don't think that guy's ate one nacho yet. And I don't know what he's got. He's got some sort of plastic hockey glove on. Oh, there might be beer in that cup. I say he's just been sitting there yet, but he's had the nachos through the whole game so far. Going back to the first period, I don't think he's ate one nacho yet. Maybe he's got those big plastic hockey gloves on both hands and can't get a nacho in his mouth. But we'll watch that. Now every time Tampa gets a penalty, keep an eye on the nacho guy and how many nachos he's actually eating, or is he just holding them and definitely having some fun chirping from the penalty box there as, that's part of being at home and having home ice advantage, although I don't think you're going to get under Pat Maroon's skin. He's been around the block a few times, veteran player, and a guy that he likes to muck it up a bit, and he's certainly not going to you're not going to be able to get under his skin as a fan, that's for sure. He's got a great sense of humor, great personality, Pat Maroon, just one of the good guys in hockey right now, and a great story. You look at, back in his Tier 2, Tier 3 junior days in St. Louis, John Cooper actually coached him way back when and was a big part of bringing Maroon to Tampa, and he's won 2 cups with Tampa. We mentioned he won the cup with St. Louis the year before, going for 4 in a row for Patty Maroon. And I don't know, do you retire after 4 in a row? I mean, it can't possibly get 5 straight. I guess he got 5 fingers. He got 5 cup rings. If he can fit one on his thumb, he's got pretty big mitts, Patty Maroon. I don't know if he can fit a cup ring on his thumb, but yeah, it'd be pretty crazy if he won 5 in a row. But they got their work cut out to win this 4th cup for Maroon, as we see Tampa in on the forecheck here. Kucherov's out there with Point. Big shot there. This is, I believe, a 4-on-4 situation, but Point and Kucherov getting some chances. Kemper making another save. But yeah, a lot of work to do for against the Colorado Avalanche if Patty Maroon wants to win his 4th cup in a row, and Tampa wants to get the 3-peat this year. But again, I go back to my prediction in the series. I got Tampa in 6, as you see, a big hit there by Josh Manson on Anthony Cirelli, and Manson getting real physical. Another big hit there on Victor Hedman, and Colorado needs that. Manson was another one of their deadline acquisitions. Hedman's had a rough go. He's a big guy, 6'5", 230, 240. Just a mountain of a man, Victor Hedman is, and as far as NHL standards go. But yeah, definitely we're seeing Josh Manson throw his weight around, and Hedman's had a rough playoffs. We said in that clinching game against the Rangers, Alexis Lafreniere got a high hit on Hedman. He had to go to the quiet room, concussion protocol, but he's back, no worse for wear. But certainly Colorado's trying to be physical on Hedman, but that's a tough guy to wear down physically. He's just such a beast, and he can play 30 minutes a night, all situations. He's a real all-purpose defender. And like we said, Cale Makar, not as big of a physical specimen, but look what he's doing here. He's out at the blue line, chasing the puck carrier, poking it out, clearing it himself. Just a real rover. A lot of people actually are making the Bobby Orr comparison with Cale Makar, and you just watch how he impacts the game at both ends of the ice. He's not a traditional defenseman. He kind of freelances out there, but yet he's an amazing defender. Adam Fox for the Rangers as well, but Makar's skating, I think, is just on another level than Fox. But his creativity, and here again, he's out at the point. It's 4-on-4, but he's out at the point. And actually, we're getting a delayed penalty here for Colorado. So Tampa's going to go back to the power play, trailing 3-1 when the Avs touch up. But just fun to watch Cale Makar, because he is not a textbook player by any means. He kind of makes it up as he goes, and he's all over the ice. He's impacting the game every shift. There's never a shift you don't notice number 8 for Colorado. And a lot of Bobby Orr comparisons coming up, whether it's Paul Coffey in the 80s or Bobby Orr. But Bobby Orr was just and again, that's before my time, but everything I've seen and heard of Bobby Orr was just that he could take over a game at both ends of the ice, and that's really what we've seen from Cale Makar, who's still under 25 years old. We're going to see another decade of this from Cale Makar. I don't know how many Norris trophies he's going to win, how many cups he's going to win, how many Conn Smythes he's going to win, maybe a Hart Trophy, regular season MVP. Who knows what the future holds for Cale Makar, but we're seeing probably, and I don't like to make those comparisons, but if people say, McDavid's as close to Gretzky, since Gretzky, you probably got to say Cale Makar's as close to Bobby Orr, since the days of the obviously all-star, superstar Tampa Bay Lightning defense, or Tampa, Boston Bruins defenseman Bobby Orr. Watching a Tampa commercial here, but yeah, just a great pace to the second period, absolutely. And here we got back on the chat here, trying to catch up with the guys. Looks like Arnie's in the house. Arnie's always got some good feedback here, so says the cap crunch is real. Yeah, exactly. Lots of good chat tonight on the stream, so we love to see that. Great job, guys. We always chat it up in Telegram, but when we got these watch parties, you're watching along. It's great to bring the chat in here as well. So, and yeah, definitely enjoying the action. Let's see here. Just catching up on some of the chatter. There's been quite a bit going on here in the chat, which is always great to see. Good to see that engagement. Good to see everybody enjoying the game, both in the UFHL and the NHL. As you see, Rock Republic up 31.42 to 19.6. Not a lot happening in the start of this second period. Again, Colorado took a penalty here, so we're going to see a Tampa power play. Is this too many men maybe they're calling? I don't know what this delayed call is. No, it can't be too many men. I don't know. I missed what the call was here. But anyway, we're getting a Tampa power play as they trail 3-1 here in the second period. Cirelli on the draw. Kucherov back to Hedman, but it skips past him, and Colorado's chasing him down. Nichushkin on Hedman there. Kucherov and Hedman set it up and work it up the ice. But, yeah, the 5-on-3 call, yeah, that was a soft call on Cirelli on Makar, absolutely, there at the end of the first period. Yeah, Arnie says, this is a good comment. Arnie says, maybe the analytics community was right years ago by saying that Nichushkin was better than Draisaitl. And Dean throws up the stop sign with a nay, Dean Millard. I don't think Nichushkin's on that level yet. I've heard rumors that Edmonton might, if they can't get Evander Kane signed, they might take a serious run at Nichushkin. And can you imagine Draisaitl and Nichushkin as line mates? Two big, heavy guys that would just cycle other teams to death. Nichushkin being more of a shooter, and obviously Draisaitl the playmaker, although the playmaker with 50-goal seasons back-to-back. And obviously if Draisaitl's on McDavid's line or on the power play. And one thing with Draisaitl with that ankle sprain in the playoffs, you didn't see his one-timer wasn't as lethal as it usually is, especially on the power play. But again, he's become a real goal-scoring threat, one of the NHL's premier goal scorers, even though he's almost known more as a playmaker. But it'd be interesting to see Nichushkin end up in Edmonton potentially, depending what they do with their cap space in that Evander Kane situation. But yeah, it was funny when the analytics community was going out and saying Nichushkin was better than Draisaitl, and that was a few years ago where, again, Nichushkin's matured a lot in Colorado from his Dallas days, and the underlying numbers were good a few seasons ago already. And now we're seeing the production show up a lot more as Tampa rips one wide to Corey Perry, high and wide on that power play. But that one didn't miss by too much, I don't think, as far as down power plays over here. So nothing doing for Tampa on that power play, or 1 second left. Shots are 17-11 for Colorado. They're still leading 3-1 in the second period. Yeah, that's funny, though, the Nichushkin-Draisaitl debate, and I certainly had a hand in that. I was one of the big debaters saying, those WAR charts and some of the charts and stuff in the analytics community, you put in two names that the hockey purist, the eye test says they're not even close in terms of caliber of player, and the underlying numbers might suggest otherwise. I always laugh. He's not Valeri Nichushkin, but a guy who had great underlying numbers when he was an Oiler was Benoit Pouliot, former 4th overall pick in the NHL draft way back when. He's since retired. I don't know if he ever had a 50-point season in the NHL or 20-goal season. He might have had one or two, but certainly not an impact player. But Valeri Nichushkin was Benoit Pouliot was somewhat similar player to Nichushkin and a real analytics darling as well. But the Pouliot charts that they would spit out against players around the league, and watching Pouliot day to day with Edmonton, it was almost humorous to see how good his underlying numbers were compared to the eye test, where he just wasn't, for his size and stuff. And Nichushkin's become a lot more of a physical force. Benoit Pouliot was a pretty passive player for his size, and I'm sure he chipped the puck in at the right times to get a nice analytics spin on his underlying numbers. But he was an analytics darling, but he never was a star player in the NHL. And Nichushkin's getting to that level now, but he's not at the Draisaitl level. I mean, you give 32 NHL GMs their choice of Draisaitl and Nichushkin, and you're not going to get one Nichushkin. So, not even close. So, but Nichushkin is become a legitimate top 6 forward, potential first line forward, depending where he plays next season as a UFA. Again, Colorado, we talk about the cap world. They got Nazem Kadri, they got Valeri Nichushkin. They're going to have some tough choices on the cap in the offseason. Darcy Kemper's a free agent. So you got Kemper, Kadri, Nichushkin. That's the reality of the cap, and it will be for Arnie and the Royals in the UFHL. I know West Coast Express is shopping guys like Johnny Gaudreau and Philip Forsberg, 2 of the biggest UFAs in the NHL. West Coast Express has them on the block, along with Ricard Raquel, a bunch of other guys that are going to get raises this summer, and West Coast Express won't be able to afford them all. We saw the Stingrays recently unload Taylor Hall, Jordan Eberle for lesser guys, Mason Appleton and Josh Archibald in return. Basically cap dumps. They traded Zach Werenski for Torrey Krug as somewhat of a to lower their cap situation. So a lot of these top 5 franchises in the UFHL are in the same boat as Colorado and Tampa and some of these high-end NHL teams that you just can't keep everybody year to year. The cap with only a $1 million increase next year is a tough reality, and you're going to have to make sacrifices. And we'll see. It'll be an interesting offseason both in the NHL as well as the UFHL. And we'll see where Valeri Nichushkin ends up. But let's see here. Yeah, Messier and Chelios, Nick Taylor from VIP Sports Management Agency says, Messier and Chelios have been great. Gretzky, Tocchet, and Biznasty have also been great. So, a lot of people watching, even Canadians like Nick and Victoria or on Vancouver Island are choosing to watch the American feed of these playoff games. I always just have the Sportsnet feed on or CBC feed on by default, the Canadian feed. But I have watched some games on the U.S. feed, and you're right. Those guys are great. Messi and Chelios, just so much experience there, and yet guys that can offer the behind the scenes of what they're seeing, as well as add some humor and some color. And certainly Tocchet and Biznasty are great. And I think Rick Tocchet, he didn't get the Philly job. I really thought John Tortorella is going to be the coach in Philadelphia. I really thought Rick Tocchet might get that job. But I think Tocchet will be back in the coaching game next year. I think there's enough openings around the league, whether it's Dallas, Boston. I don't know what San Jose's doing yet. There's a number of teams looking for coaches still. We saw Cassidy end up in Vegas. We saw now Tortorella go to Philadelphia. I think Tocchet would be a great fit with Steve Yzerman in Detroit as a guy that can really take the young Red Wings core to the next level. I know they're still in potentially on Barry Trotz as well, but Rick Tocchet, a great guy on the media side since he joined the panel there as an analyst for I believe he's on the TNT, not the ESPN one. I think he's on TNT. But Rick Tocchet, great hockey knowledge and expertise he's sharing, wisdom he's sharing there. But I think he's eager to get back behind an NHL bench. And I think one of these openings are going to go to Tocchet yet before the coaching musical chairs end. And I'm guessing most of those jobs will be filled before the draft on July 7th and 8th. And obviously free agency starts on July 13th in the NHL. So a lot of coaching decisions to be made, musical chairs there, and I think Rick Tocchet will end up in a seat when the wheel stops turning there. Lots of chirping still about Nichushkin and Draisaitl, and actually Arnie says the cap crunch is real, and that's what I'm talking about. The UFHL mirrors the NHL as far as all contracts, all cap hits, length and term. I really think, you can go on a run in the UFHL, but you're likely going to have to do some offloading in the offseason because the cap will catch up to everybody. You look even at a franchise like Red Army where they got Lafreniere, they got Trevor Zegras, Jamie Drysdale, Bowen Byram, all these young, awesome talents on entry-level contracts. They only got a couple more years of those guys, and then there's going to be some difficult decisions for Red Army when they all jump from $1 million to $10 million as well. So we'll see if Red Army maybe, they finished 10th this season after finishing 2nd the year before, winning the Klein Cup last year, but then outgoing owner Luc Grenier pieced out the roster on his way out, traded away, some vets, including guys like Mikko Rantanen and Miro Heiskanen and Carter Hart, and not that goaltending's a problem there. They got Igor Shesterkin. They also have Yaroslav Askarov and Sebastian Kosa coming. So embarrassment of riches as far as goaltending depth goes for Red Army. It'll be interesting to see if they trade one or two of those young goaltenders. And I think, obviously Shesterkin's likely the Vezina winner this year. He's also a Hart finalist. I don't think he'll beat Matthews or McDavid there, but a great season for Shesterkin. For Red Army, and they obviously have lots of Russians too. They got Kirill Kaprizov as sort of the face of the franchise up front. But again, those young guys, you're only getting them cheap for so many years, 3 years, and then it's time to pay up. So be interested to see what Jeff Ray and Mooch and the guys do in these next couple of years as far as investment goes. They also have a lot of first-round picks coming up in upcoming years. Certainly, you look at a guy like Matty Beniers, who stepped into their lineup late in the season with Seattle, had a great debut there. He's going to be a full-time player next year, likely for Red Army and Seattle. So Calder candidate next year again. So they got a great feeder system, great pipeline with or great prospect depth coming up, elite prospect depth with Red Army. But again, they're a franchise that might want to take advantage of this window before that cap crunch comes, because you only get those guys for a few seasons on those cheap entry-level contracts. Same thing in the NHL. You want to win while your guys are on ELCs if you can, or at least some of your impact players should be on ELCs when you get to this stage of the playoffs. And, trying to think, these two teams don't have a lot of those real young. Most of their core guys are already on their second contracts. I mean, I believe Makar's still actually cheap this year, and July 13th when he goes to be a $9 million guy as he sets up Nichushkin off the rush there for a real grade A chance. Shot was blocked, but great rush again by Makar. But back the other way. Wow, Nikita Kucherov, unreal play to Andrej Palat. And we got a 3-2 hockey game. Cale Makar, again, that's, he's going both ways here, but he's up the ice leading the rush, sets up a great chance for Nichushkin. Turns around, goes the other way, and Nichushkin's shot was blocked, hit the inner leg of Ryan McDonough, go the other way. Great chance at one, and Makar trying to get back, does get back, but Nichushkin just walks. Who is that there? That's Devin Taves. What a play by Nichushkin. So drop pass by Palat, give and go, dances around Devin Taves, and then Palat, actually this is a bit of a mistake by Makar. He loses Palat on the way to the net, and Palat gets his stick down. Another one of those tap-in goals, sort of like Likanen's goal in the first period, but 7:08 to go in the second period, and Tampa cuts the deficit to 3-2. As it pertains to the UFHL, another big goal for Rock Republic. Obviously, they have Andrej Palat, who I mentioned they picked up instead of Corey Perry. Another 7.5 point scoring play here. They have Kucherov and Ryan McDonough. So they get the goal scorer and both assists. And here comes Brandon Hagel in off the rush. But another big goal. And there you see it fully update. 42.05, 42.3 fantasy points for Rock Republic in comparison to 22.12 fantasy points for the Grizzlies. So Tony's bet with Dave's looking pretty promising as far as Rock Republic getting off to the better start. Wait a minute. We got ourselves a tie hockey game here. Mikhail Sergachev seeing eye wrister from the point. This one, Darcy Tucker, again, we talk about potential vision issues. I don't know if he picked this puck up or if it went through a crowd or what, but here we are, 3-3. Another goal for Rock Republic here. Mikhail Sergachev, also Rock Republic, although it looks like Brandon Hagel's going to get an assist here for the Grizzlies. But yeah, that's Sergachev throws it from not a real harmless looking shot from the point, maybe a partial screen, but I don't think Kemper picked that up, and we've talked about potential vision issues. Yeah, I think he just didn't quite grab that puck through traffic. So, nonetheless, shots are 22-14 for Colorado. We're in a 3-3 hockey game. Mikhail Sergachev and Andrzej Palat score, I want to say, less than a minute apart. And Tampa's right back in it. I had Colorado 4-2 tonight. The boss man, Tony. Oh, big save there. Not sure who shot that, but Vasilevsky with a big save. That might have been Logan O'Connor there, I think. Big save for Vasilevsky to keep it a 3-3 game as Colorado tries to push back. Yeah, nice save up high. A high shot there. But again, Tony's got Tampa winning game 1 tonight. I took Colorado. It was looking good at 3-1 and a couple minutes ago. Now we're 3-3. Tony might be getting money from me and Dave tonight, depending how this plays out now as they show Pavel Francouz on the bench. And again, I don't know if Darcy Kemper picked that up from that shot from the point. It was a pretty routine save. It looked like he could have seen that and he missed it. So, but Sergachev's been coming on strong for Tampa throughout these playoffs. Hagel and Cirelli with the assists. So Hagel of the Grizzlies. But again, Rock Republic, they got Mikhail Sergachev, the goal scorer, and Anthony Cirelli with the second assist there. So Rock Republic is pouring it on. 48.74 fantasy points for Rock Republic. As mentioned, they actually started Andrei Vasilevsky instead of Darcy Kemper. For the longest time, it was looking like that might have been a mistake. Well, now Colorado is out shooting Tampa. And they're tied in the score. So now all of a sudden Vasilevsky has the better stat line than Kemper, and it looks like Rock Republic maybe made the right choice in goals. So again, 48.99 fantasy points to 24.45 for the Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies are having a pretty good game, in all honesty. I mean, it's not a bad game for the Grizzlies. Again, it's just that manpower advantage and all the firepower for Rock Republic. It was an uphill battle for the Grizzlies, and, they came out and got 2 of the first 4 goals. They got goals from Landeskog and Lehkonen. Now they get Brandon Hagel's on the board with an assist. Stamkos has been better in this second period. But just the firepower of Rock Republic, you can see why they were the betting favorite going into the Klein Cup final. And yeah, Tony says, oh boy, Fish, sign that paycheck to Anthony, otherwise they won't cash it. Yeah, we got to get the right name there. But yeah, it's not looking good. I might have to work some overtime this month to make that up. But yeah, it's yeah. Come to think of it, I don't think Liz paid me today. So maybe you already confiscated that paycheck ahead of time today. So I think you kept today's paycheck knowing you were going to pull the big bet on tonight's game. So no, I'm just kidding. All good. But yeah, it's a fun one here. We got Tony's loving it. He's in a tie with me as far as he has Tampa. I have Colorado. Tampa's rallying to potentially take game 1 on the road. And obviously Rock Republic's essentially doubling the Grizzlies so far as Tony's side bet, where Dave took the Grizzlies as first choice, kind of the call it heads or tails, and Dave took the Grizzlies. Tony threw it out, hey, who wants to do a side bet on 200 score coin for which franchise is going to put up more fantasy points tonight? And Dave jumped at it and took the Grizzlies. Tony says, sure, I'll take Rock Republic, and Rock Republic's doubling the Grizzlies so far. So Tony could have a pretty profitable night here in the UFHL side bets. So yeah, Tony says he withheld my paycheck today to make sure he can deduct his 1,000 score coin when Tampa pulls this off tonight. So we'll see. Should be a fun third period. I mean, we still got 5 minutes and 37 seconds to go in the second period. Looks like we got a problem with the glass, so there's a little bit of a delay here as they swap out a pane or put in a dasher or something there with the glass. We got a ladder on the ice anyway. That usually indicates some sort of glass problem. Now they're ready to go. But yeah, it's going to be a heck of a finish now. It was looking promising for Colorado up 3-1, and Colorado had a great start to this game, but as we said, the 2-time defending champs, the amount of playoff experience, nothing's going to rattle them. Vasilevsky's really settled in goal. He's been a lot better in this second period. He did give up the one goal on the 5-on-3, but he made a lot of good saves there to really get into a groove. And now Tampa's pushed back with 2 quick goals from Andrej Palat and Mikhail Sergachev. Second one from Sergachev, definitely Darcy Kemper would like to have that one back. Again, lots of talk about potential vision issues from that Ryan Johansson high stick that sidelined him in the Nashville series. And Pavel Francouz, who, again, he's been the backup all year, but he's been good in the playoffs, and he was good in that Edmonton series at times, made a big save off McDavid when they had a power play, and Edmonton had a chance to tie that one game. But Kemper's been in and out of the lineup throughout, but they acquired him in the offseason. Actually, Philip Grubauer left Colorado, turned down a contract offer to take more money with the expansion Seattle Kraken, which the Brutes have Philip Grubauer in the UFHL, and that couldn't have been a worse choice for Grubauer as far as the Brutes go, because he was their leading point getter, even ahead of Crosby last season. He was the MVP for the Brutes. I think he was in the top 20 or 30 in overall fantasy points for the UFHL. Probably, if not the top goaltender, definitely top 3. Grubauer was last year. He was sort of in that Vezina conversation with Colorado. He goes to Seattle and really has a tough year. He ended up putting up less fantasy points than James Reimer for the Brutes. Obviously, they hope Grubauer on that big long-term contract bounces back and has a better year. Year 2 with Seattle, the Kraken should improve. But Grubauer chases the money, leaves Colorado, and they have to trade a first-round pick to land Darcy Kemper. So again, that was prior to the season, but they gave up a lot to get Darcy Kemper. He's their guy, and they're sticking with him, even though he's obviously battling some sort of a vision issue, which seemed to be the problem on that Mikhail Sergachev tying goal, make it 3-3. But Nathan McKinnon, they just showed 4 shots tonight, so he's definitely been involved, as you would expect from McKinnon, a real catalyst for Colorado all season long, all career long. But he wants that cup ring. He wants to lift that cup more than anybody. I guarantee it out of this series. So we'll see if McKinnon can really will the Avs, and what kind of impact will McKinnon have in a 3-3 game, right? You remember against St. Louis and again, Darcy Kemper blew that one for St. Louis or for Colorado, but it looked like Colorado was going to advance in 5 games. McKinnon went end to end for a hat-trick goal, hat-trick go-ahead goal with under 3 minutes to go in that game 5. And then Darcy Kemper let in a weak goal, and then Tyler Bozak beat him on another long-range shot for the overtime winner to take away that glory from McKinnon. But that might be the goal of the playoffs, that end-to-end hat-trick goal by McKinnon against St. Louis in the second round. There's been a lot of nice goals in these playoffs, don't get me wrong, but that's a contender for goal of the playoffs. And I think McKinnon will definitely have an impact here. As speaking of impact, JT Compher of the Grizzlies breaking in behind the defense, poke check by Andrei Vasilevsky. Now Cale Makar, just missed. There again, just Makar, his hockey sense is just next level. Here he comes again, he's pinching in, but he just always knows how to get involved in the play. Like a lot of times defensemen just kind of play their position, but here he's walking the line, trying to get a shot through, but he comes out of nowhere all the time, and all of a sudden, boom, there he is wide open, and where is he now? Okay, now he's walking the line again, pivoting. Had to regroup and come out of the zone. Good D by Ross Colton on Makar there. But again, Makar's had some ups and some downs in this game, but you always notice number 8. As far as Conn Smythe goes, or most impactful player, it's hard to go against Makar. He's very, very noticeable as a defenseman, more so than any other D in the league and in these playoffs, that's for sure. 4-1 Hamilton with 5 minutes to go. Thanks for the update, Dean. So it looks like the Hamilton Bulldogs on home ice are going to win Game 7 and capture the OHL championship, round out the Memorial Cup field. As again, they were the number 1 seed in the OHL regular season champs, swept the first 3 rounds. Windsor, with Mark Savard as their coach, have taken Hamilton to Game 7, and again, the Bulldogs look like they're going to have the answer here in Game 7, up 4-1 with 5 minutes to go. What else did I miss here? There's lots of good chatter going on earlier here in the chat. I'm just trying to catch up. Well, I'll catch up in the intermission on the chat. We got 2 minutes to go here in the second period. Again, 3-3. Shots are 25-16 for Colorado. So again, now we're talking goaltending decision. Now Vasilevsky looks like the right call for Rock Republic. We'll go down and look here at their bench. Vasilevsky's at 1.4 fantasy points with 22 saves, 3 goals against. Again, whoever wins is going to be the real, because that's, the win-loss points of 2.5 swing points is going to be the decision, whether, there's Makar again. Wow, what a player. But the win bonus is going to be the swing, and even if it goes to overtime, it's a 0.5 for the overtime loss, but then also 2.5 still for the win. So whoever wins this game at 3-3 is going to be the right decision as far as goaltender goes for Rock Republic. But based on the shots on goal right now, certainly as Eric Chernak looks a bit banged up here, collision with Landeskog, maybe his elbow hit the dasher there. I'm not sure what happened, but he's block shot off the back of the leg. That's what happened. So quite the shift for Eric Chernak, a real warrior for these Tampa Bay Lightning and their D with him and McDonough and Bogosian. I mean, obviously they have Hedman, who's also a real warrior, but just a real tough, rugged defense and hard to play against. Tampa is, all the skill they have up front, that defense is hard to play against. As Hedman and Nichushkin are going to battle it out again here. Hedman gets it back, but there's Makar again, keeping it in at the point, and what a talent Makar is. And he's been all over the ice in this game. Like I said, he's had some highs and some lows. He lost his check a little bit on Palat for that tying goal, or that might have been the 3-2 goal. 3-2 goal for Palat. Tying goal was Sergachev, which Kemper should have had from that long-range shot. But definitely you just keep an eye on number 8 for Colorado. Even if you're not watching for him, you can't miss him. He's all over the ice at all times in these games. But here we go with the goaltending. Darcy Kemper now is at minus 0.2 fantasy points, 3 goals against on 17 shots, 14 saves. So he's actually putting up the negative stat line right now, and Vasilevsky's at 1.6. So now all of a sudden Rock Republic looks smart going Vasilevsky, expecting Colorado's going to get lots of shots at home, put up more shots in game 1 being the host. All the excitement about home ice advantage, first Stanley Cup final with this core group. So you expect Colorado to get a lot of shots tonight and Vasilevsky to make a lot of saves. And I'm sure that was the ultimate decision for Kyle Roberts and Rock Republic, as well as not knowing, is Kemper going to play one period and then his eye's going to act up and he's going to be out. And Vasilevsky's going to go the distance for Colorado or for Tampa no matter what. Looks like we're into the second intermission here. Alex Killorn mixing it up a little bit, but tie game 3-3 heading into the third period. What a great start to the Stanley Cup final as well as the Klein Cup final. But there you see Darcy Kemper gets back to 0 with that late save to end the second period. But he's sitting at an even score line, and Vasilevsky's at 1.6 fantasy points. But realistically, the right decision when you're in a close game like this is going to be the winning goaltender. So if Colorado wins, Kemper will still overtake Vasilevsky, and if Tampa wins, then Vasilevsky was the right decision. But overall, when you look at this score right now, the goaltending decision isn't going to prove too costly tonight for Rock Republic if Kemper wins, because you look at the overall score, and Rock Republic is essentially doubling the Grizzlies, 51.54 fantasy points to 26.3. And as mentioned, it's not like the Grizzlies are having a bad night. They're getting their share of points as well. Just that manpower advantage I keep coming back to for Rock Republic. A lot of their players are landing on the score sheet tonight, as well as, putting up shots, hits, takeaways, block shots, you name it. They're all over the stat sheet, top to bottom, Rock Republic is. But now that we're in the intermission, we can definitely see where we're at on the chat here and catch up a little bit, because that's always a fun part of intermission, catching up on what I missed out on. And there's been a lot of chat tonight, which is great to see, and I'm just sort of going back. We went through the whole Draisaitl Nichushkin running joke in the analytics community and who to take there, but Dean says Brett Hall should be on there as as one of the analysts. And if you didn't follow Brett Hall during that St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup run, wow, he was long past his glory days, but he was having a lot of fun. And then obviously Gloria being their big theme song, he's belting it out. And just a real good ambassador in St. Louis. But I think Brett Hall, he enjoys the beverages at the game. He likes to get right into the atmosphere. He's one of the fans now, that's for sure. And yeah, Gretzky much better than he used to be as far as an analyst. Yeah, he's gotten a lot more color in his commentary now that he's not trying to coach anymore. Or maybe he is. Maybe he wants to get back into coaching or management at some point. But I think before he was biting his tongue a lot more as far as being too critical or too honest in his assessments. He was just sort of towing the, kind of keeping an even keel on the broadcast, which you don't want from broadcasters. That's not entertaining if you're complimenting everybody and not really taking or not having any strong takes, hot takes on anything, just sort of, coasting your way through. That doesn't make for great commentary, which again, Brett Hall is another big personality that could, Jeremy Roenick's a guy, I think he could have a lot of fun on some of these broadcasts as well. There's a lot of those guys that are big personalities. And again, obviously Paul Bissonnette being one of the biggest ones out there, but I think JR, he obviously he was an analyst and had a situation come up where he was removed from that, but I think he'll eventually get a platform back where a lot of people want to hear what JR has to say. And yeah, when you're that great, you can't teach your talent. He proved that. Yeah, that's a good point by Tony with Gretzky's coaching ability. A lot of these real top-end coaches, look at a guy like Marty St. Louis now in Montreal, guys that, were undrafted and had to, Marty St. Louis was a Hart Trophy winner and leading scorer and everything else, all-star, but he wasn't out of the gate. He was a undrafted guy, had to scratch and claw his way up, play the fourth line, play penalty kill, and just keep working his way up the lineup. So those are the guys that can really teach that next generation and develop those prospects into, you got to find a role in the NHL, because everybody that's drafted, everybody that makes training camp and stuff, those guys were all elite offensive players in their junior career for the most part. Even a guy like when they just showed Anthony Cirelli, he scored an overtime winning goal in the Memorial Cup in 2015 for Oshawa against Kelowna, real high-scoring junior. All these guys were. And then when you get to the NHL, everybody's got to find a role. And, even guys like Steve Yzerman, you talk about a guy like that who he's a GM now, not a coach, but certainly in his playing days, he was a high-scoring junior and really had to develop that two-way game and become a two-way force before Detroit could win in all those late 90s championships that Chelios was a part of some of those as well, but certainly Yzerman. But yeah, I do think there's a point there that if you're so talented and it comes so naturally to you, it is hard to teach that skill to people that just, they don't have the instincts. And even watching a guy like Cale Makar, everything comes so naturally to him, so instinctual on the ice. It's really hard to teach that if you just don't understand why they don't get it or why they're not able to do what you were able to do as a player. Whereas if you had to work every step of the way, a guy like Kevin Bieksa, another undrafted guy, if he wants to get into coaching, I love the analyst work he does and the things he sees in the game. I think he could be certainly a coaching candidate, and he probably would start in junior and work his way up, maybe be a CHL head coach like Steve Staios as a GM, obviously. But a lot of those guys get their start in junior and work their way back up. But I think Bieksa could certainly have some opportunities in hockey ops if he wants to. He's doing great in broadcasting, but I think he could get into hockey ops as well. A guy that seems really good at breaking down the game and picking up on the little things and being able to communicate it to us, the audience, but I think also to the players, the younger players that are learning the game. But and yeah, Nick says Drunk Hall should be on there. You mean, yeah, exactly. That was he had a lot of fun that playoff run for St. Louis, and you hope all the best for Brett Hall. I mean, you don't want him to be a train wreck off the ice and hitting the sauce too hard, but he definitely gave us a lot of laughs, and look at Alex Ovechkin with the cup. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having some fun in hockey. Speaking of which, a lot of people were getting a kick out of that Connor McDavid video this week where he might have been a little bit tipsy celebrating or blowing off some steam after leading the Oilers to the conference final, one of the best seasons in the past decade or a couple decades in the NHL. He's having some fun in the offseason. Of course, everybody has a cell phone. Everyone's got a camera now, and somebody caught him making his way out of an establishment, a nightclub or pub or whatever they were at, and he looked a little glossy-eyed and maybe a little lost. He had a girl kind of helping him to the vehicle, and of course it was a brunette, so it wasn't Lauren, his girlfriend, and that drew some headlines and some clickbait. But again, I think Ovechkin, had a great time with his cup, and guys like Brett Hall, you got to have a little bit of fun. You can't take life too seriously all the time. Not to say Sidney Crosby and Nathan MacKinnon never have fun, but you don't see much of them having fun. They're two pretty serious guys that, they're professional athletes 24/7. At least they are squeaky clean in their public persona now. I mean, there was a time when Tiger Woods was a pretty squeaky clean guy, and he was sort of the Sidney Crosby of golf. Maybe people that followed golf knew that he had a wild side, but to the public, his image was squeaky clean for a lot of years, and then obviously it came crashing down. So hopefully that doesn't happen to Sidney Crosby or Nathan MacKinnon or any of those guys that are squeaky clean in the public image right now. But you never know what's going on behind the scenes. But some guys like to have more fun than others. And let's remember Connor McDavid's still under 25 years old. So I think we can give him a hall pass to blow off some steam after the season he had and enjoy his first bit of the offseason before he's got to get back in the gym and back to training and trying to lead Edmonton to this stage, to the Stanley Cup final, now that they've made the conference final. We talk about those Nick Paul, Arturi Lehkonen trades, Blake Coleman trades. I think now Ken Holland is at that place where whether he's trading Puljujarvi or Yamamoto or, some of these young guys, Holloway, Bourgault, you name it. I think Edmonton's in a win now state for as long as these Draisaitl and McDavid contracts go. Daryl Cates, the owner's had some health issues in recent years. It was great to see him both at the games in LA and then back in Edmonton for the games against Colorado. And Daryl Cates was living and dying with the Oilers in the 80s. That's where his fandom came from. He hung out with Gretzky and Messier and all those guys, and they certainly had their share of fun off the ice. Grant Fuhr, Messier, Semenko, the list goes on. It was a little different time in the 80s, but, surprisingly, a lot of guys still have a lot of fun in the offseason, and good for them. I mean, they got a lot of money, and they got a lot of hard work in the gym, hard work at practice throughout the year. Have some fun in the offseason, especially if you win. Get out there and celebrate. And, as we've seen, Alex Ovechkin, I thought Ovi was done after that. After that, offseason he had with the Cup, I didn't think he was coming back. I definitely didn't think he was scoring 50 goals ever again. I thought that Stanley Cup hangover was going to hit him hard and take some seasons off his career, and he didn't skip a beat. Russian machine never break for for Alex Ovechkin. I mean, he came back. He didn't skip a beat despite all that celebrating, and for every keg stand he did, he scored a goal the next season. So good on him. Where are we at here in the chats? Yeah. Oh yeah. Nick already brought up Jeremy Roenick. Said Roenick should be there. Oh wait, never mind. Yeah, that was a fun one. Arnie says, where do you rank Gleb Trikozov? And Arnie, I had him in my second round for most of the year, and I like his style. I think he's got a real unique skill set, and I don't think he's Nikita Kucherov, but he's that type of player. As far as this, I think he's got some of Kucherov if you're looking for a high level comparison. So the three Russians in the first round, four. Let's count Miroshnichenko, because good thing that Ivan Miroshnichenko is now feeling good. He's recovering from Hodgkin's treatment. Mario Lemieux, great guy, reached out, helped him through that tough time, but seems like he's getting a good medical diagnosis from his cancer or cancer scares. So hopefully young Ivan Miroshnichenko obviously lost his draft year. Real wild card going in the draft. I still think he's a top 10 talent. I had him probably in my top 5 entering the year. I'm a big fan. Pipeline Prospects has Miroshnichenko. I think he could fall. I've seen him in mock drafts going as low as 32nd to Tampa. Imagine that if Tampa, I think they have their first round pick. They didn't trade it this year finally. So Nick Paul must not have been this year's first rounder, or must have been, pretty sure Tampa didn't trade the first round. So maybe it's Matthew Joseph in 2 seconds or something. I forget what they gave up for Nick Paul. But anyway, I think Tampa's their first rounder. I've seen some mocks where Miroshnichenko fell all the way to the end of the first round. And again, Tampa has, high risk, high reward with him, but why not swing? But I think guys like teams like Buffalo with 3 first rounders, Winnipeg with 2 first rounders, I think some of those teams will take a swing at Miroshnichenko. But I really like him. I think he's still the overall most talented rushing forward, highest ceiling rushing forward in this draft class. I think he's a better version of Vasily Podkolzin, same type of player, but a better version. Daniil Yurov is sort of the one that gets talked about the most. When Miroshnichenko went down, everybody talked about Yurov. I had him in and around my top 10 at times, but I've dropped down a little bit on here. We're seeing the highlights of this Hamilton game. You see Mason McTavish open the scoring. Game 7 against Windsor. So just watching these highlights here because I haven't seen this yet. Oh, they didn't give us much highlights. They gave us Mason McTavish's goal and a 6-1 final for Hamilton. So they had a big win in Game 7 on home ice. Great season. And now on Sportsnet, there you go, Sam Costantino's final draft rankings. So check those out. Sam is a scout. I got to get a retweet on that as well. Maybe I should do that right now while we're here before I forget. Get the scouting account, get Sam's draft rankings out there. I haven't even had time to check them today, but Sam and good friend of his, Peter Loubardias, who's a color commentary for the Flames. Peter Loubardias, great guy, great Western Canadian hockey guy. Been around junior hockey for 25, 30 years at least. And him and Sam are great buddies, pick each other's brains in hockey all the time at the national broadcasting scouting level. But they've joined forces to form Salu Scouting. Salu, of course, Sam being SA and Lou, LU, Salu Scouting agency within UFFS. And they're going head-to-head with guys like Craig Button of high-level scouting. So we got Costantino, the head scout for Sportsnet, Craig Button, the head scout for TSN. They both are involved in the scouting side of the UFFS platform, but just going to make sure I give a retweet here to Sam Costantino's draft rankings, and then I'll check those out later tonight. But final rankings from Sam Costantino on Sportsnet, as we saw Hamilton advance the Memorial Cup, joining Edmonton from the WHL, the Oil Kings, Shawinigan Cataracts from the QMJHL, and the host, St. John's Sea Dogs. So great looking Memorial Cup. Some of the favorites made it through there as well, like we're seeing here in the NHL with Tampa and Colorado. So that's going to be a really fun tournament next weekend. Trying to find these draft rankings here. They just showed them on TV, but he must have released them this morning because they're buried in the Sportsnet feed from today. They haven't retweeted them. Trying to find this before I forget. Where you at? But yeah, Sam Costantino, great guy. I've got to know him a little bit through UFFS. They have a good stable prospect, including a guy like and I might butcher his name because I've done that a couple times. Luca Dalbel Blues, Mississauga forward, really talented guy in the OHL, high ceiling type offensive player. I don't want to compare him to Antonio Strangis of London or that type of player, but guy who has a high offensive ceiling. Maybe more like Luke Evangelista of London, maybe more that style of player, but certainly a guy who could be a top 10 scorer in the OHL next year, potential first-round pick, is part of Salu Scouting. One of the guys, they came in late and snagged him on the open market, and I just retweeted that, so if you're following the UFFS Scouts account, definitely go check out Sam Costantino's final rankings. And let's see if Luca Dalbel Blues made it into those final rankings. I'm assuming he would have, but yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on these right now. I'll obviously dive into this closely after the watch party tonight or before bed tonight, but Yeah, I'm seeing some interesting names in here that maybe aren't in some other people's rankings. I don't think I see Del Bel Baloo. Oh yeah, there he is, 26. So Luca Del Bel Balooz is 26th in Sam Cosentino's final rankings. Could go somewhere in that range, kind of in the 20s, 20 to 40 range probably in the NHL draft. But definitely if you're following the UFFS, the account is UFHL underscore scouting at UFHL underscore scouting on Twitter. Give it a follow. Go check out Sam Cosentino's final rankings on Sportsnet today. Maybe during the end of the second intermission or before the start of third. But back to the Russian forwards. So we got Danila Yurov, who actually, Nikita. We're talking about Valery Nichushkin in tonight's game and how he's developed into such a good player. And he was sort of a top 10. I think he was 10th overall in the NHL draft. Nichushkin was. That would probably be a good comparable for Danila Yurov. I know some people call him a Marian Hossa type, which is sort of the big horse that Nichushkin's turning into. So I think Yurov, when you look at Nichushkin, I think Yurov's a fairly good comparison. I think he's got a high floor, I want to say. Like, I think he's going to be an NHL player. I think he's going to be somewhat like, might take a while to get to that level, but I think he's going to be a Nichushkin type. Maybe a bit of a safer pick. And for that reason, I actually bumped him down because I went with some higher upside guys in my final rankings. So Yurov's in my, he's no longer in my locks for a first round pick, but he's in my next tier of a big tier from 15 to 40. And Yurov's in there. I think he's around 25 now. And Gleb Trikozov is right there with Yurov. I think he got him at 25 and 26 in my final rankings. Spoiler alert, since Arnie asked, I'll share that. I have Yurov and Trikozov head-to-head behind Miroshnichenko. I have Miroshnichenko at, I believe, 10 or 11 in my final rankings. And then I have Yurov and Trikozov in that sort of 15 to 40 range, neck and neck in the end of the first round, as well as Alexander Perevalov, another Russian forward who, the more I watch him and Yurov, they're somewhat similar, bigger guys, offensive skill, but I think Perevalov's probably the better goal scorer between them, actually. Maybe a little bit more exciting player to watch. But again, I think Yurov's just so consistent, so big. Here's Nichushkin breaking in again with the shot to start the third period, 30 seconds in, and a big horse. I think that's what you're getting with Danila Yurov. I don't know if he's a sexy fantasy player, but certainly in the UFHL with all the stat categories, I think Danila Yurov's gonna fill up the stat sheet the same way Nichushkin does. Perevalov, a bit more, again, a bigger power forward guy, but maybe more like a Denny Guryanov in Dallas, which obviously Nichushkin was also a top 10 pick for Dallas. Guryanov, inconsistent. I think that's what Perevalov will be, but maybe a bit more game-breaking ability, whereas I think Yurov's going to be more of a two-way guy and a consistent force, but not a breakout offensive player. And Trikozov, like I said, he's got more of the Kucherov to him, more of the higher ceiling, more of the boomer bust or high risk, high reward, whatever you want to call it. But Trikozov of those guys, I think, has the highest pure point potential. He could have a point per game type season or whatever or better, where the other guys I think are going to be in that consistent, 50, 60 point guys in the NHL, maybe flirt with 65 points at somewhere. Even Miroshnichenko, I think when you think Trikozov, I think he might have a higher offensive ceiling than Miroshnichenko. I don't think Miroshnichenko is going to get to the Malkin level. I mean, obviously his health derailed his draft year, and we'll see how he rebounds from that, but he was sort of a Malkin bowl in the China shop, big offensive guy. Don't think he'll get to that level anymore, but still a big fan of the tools that Miroshnichenko has. Like I said, I see him as quite similar to Vasily Podkolzin, who was 10th overall for Vancouver a couple of years ago, or around that top 10. I think Miroshnichenko can be a better version of Vasily Podkolzin, but similar player. And Yurov being more like Nichushkin, Trikozov having that super high ceiling like a Kucherov, and then Perevalov maybe being more like a Denny Guryanov. So that gives you the run of the, and I already talked about Buchelnikov being, kind of that Panarin type, or, a better version of Yegor Chinnikov, potentially a smaller but better version, as sort of a sleeper out of Russia, as an overage potential top 50 pick. But again, I could also see Buchelnikov going, in round 6 or 7, like Alexander Pashin, who I had Pashin ranked as a first rounder in that draft year. and obviously he went in the 7th round to Carolina. So the draft doesn't always mean the end game, but I do think Pochelnikov is an interesting overager out of Russia, and there's a few out of Russia that are overage forwards to keep an eye on. Buryanov being another one that comes to mind in my top 5 rounds anyway. Probably missing a few more there because there's definitely some Russians of note. And speaking of rushing the puck, there's Makar up the ice again. McKinnon had a bit of a look there, but again, Makar can really tilt the ice with his speed, but also his anticipation. He just sees the game so well, picks his spots, and he's just so active. Like, that's the word that comes to mind with Makar is active. He's always active. He's activating. He's not going to sit back and watch the play develop. He's going to find some way to get involved, and he's not breathing too heavy. So, I mean, he's a guy that's just such an effortless but powerful skater. It's awesome to watch. It's shades of Bobby Orr, as people have said. And again, I didn't get to see Bobby, so no disrespect to Bobby. If some of the founders of UFFS maybe did grow up watching the end of Bobby Orr's career or prime of Bobby Orr's career, maybe they're saying, oh, tone it down a little bit, dial it back. He's not Bobby Orr yet, but it's as good of a performance in the Stanley Cup playoffs that we've seen from a defenseman in decades for sure, Cale Makar. And again, I think I love Nick Lidstrom, but Nick Lidstrom was more like Hedman, just that all-around, or like a Pronger, that all-around game. The game went through him, but not quite to the level that the impact that Makar has shift to shift with, again, just being such an active player out there. Yeah. We got Dean Youngblood should drop the puck in their opening game. There's always a Youngblood reference from Dean, so I love that. I'm gonna watch Youngblood again because I don't think I have a full appreciation for that movie. I know all about Slapshot. I know all about the Mighty Ducks. I probably know more about Goon than with Sean William Scott. I probably know more about Goon than I know about Youngblood. So as far as hockey movies go, I've seen Miracle a million times. I've seen Mystery Alaska too many times, but I really got to watch more Youngblood. That's one that I seen maybe once or twice, but I never got a full appreciation for Youngblood. So all these Youngblood references this week. Once these playoffs are over and I got nothing to watch, I'm going to watch Youngblood, and then maybe I'll be dropping some one-liners from Youngblood from time to time like Dean does. What else do we got here? As we're watching the game here, and Bowen Byram's coming up on a 2-minute shift, minute 50 for Byram as he's in his own zone here, but not didn't have to do much here. Is that going to be on ice? No, it's icing. So Byram's going to be stuck out there for this face-off. He can't change unless Colorado calls a timeout, but I don't see that happening. So Jack Johnson and Bowen Byram are going to be pushing a 3-minute shift if they lose this face-off and get trapped in their own end here. But still 3-3, 3.5 minutes into the third period. Shots are 28-17 for Colorado. Vasilevsky, like I said, he's starting to outplay Darcy Kemper, which I thought would be the difference in this series. I took Colorado tonight. I thought Colorado would have all the energy of the home ice advantage and first time in the Stanley Cup final, and this core group with McKinnon, I just thought they'd come out jacked, which they did. 3-1 lead in the first period, but obviously Vasilevsky settled in. He's made some good saves, and the championship pedigree of Tampa Bay. No surprise that they're able to battle back and tie this at 3-3. Let's see here. Yeah, so much good chatter tonight, guys. I'm trying to keep up on the chat, and I barely can, but you guys are, and I gotta also keep us updated here on the live scoring too, because it's lots going on the live scoring. Rock Republic with a big lead, 54-09 to 26.3, so a little better than double now for Rock Republic. Looking good for Tony's bet with Dave on amongst the founders. 200 score coin looks like it's coming Tony's way for the Klein Cup final bet tonight, and we'll see how myself and Tony go in the NHL bet. We'll see. I mean, it's a long way from over. Here comes Nichushkin again. What an impact player he's been tonight. Very noticeable for Colorado. Playing on that top line with Rantanen and McKinnon, and he's had the puck a lot in scoring positions. Looks like Devin Taves maybe took a penalty. No call there on that. Looked like a trip off the rush. here comes Makar again, cutting through the middle of the ice, dancing in, looking like a young Bobby Orr, falling down, getting up, almost scoring while falling. But yeah, hard to watch these games and not just be mesmerized by Cale Makar. We haven't seen a player like him in a long time. As far as, again, I really got the appreciation for how he shut down McDavid and Draisaitl defensively. Him and Devon Toews, awesome pairing in that sweep for Colorado. But the thing with Makar is he's not shutting down defensively. He's just, taking the puck away and turning it back up ice and getting his own chances. And speaking of chances, JT Compher, the Grizzlies, backdoor on Vasilevsky. Not sure how that stayed out. Vasilevsky didn't know the puck was there, and Compher darn near restored Colorado's lead. Next goal is going to be huge here. I don't want to say next goal wins with 15 minutes to go, but next goal is huge at a 3-3 hockey game. Don't know if my voice will hold up for overtime, so I wouldn't mind seeing somebody put this away in regulation. And for selfish reasons, I gotta start cheering for Colorado here because I got a 1,000 score coin riding on the Avs against Tony. Took the Lightning tonight, so Tony's saying Tampa in 4 possibly. So you never know though. I mean, if Tampa wins tonight, that's a big blow to Colorado, being the fact they were up 3-1 and the fact that you get down in a series against Tampa, as we saw with Florida. It was just the ice tilted. But speaking of tilted ice, big chance there for Lycan and Fandon. Here comes Braden Point for Tampa, darting through the neutral zone. Looks like he drew a high sticking penalty there, Braden Point did. But you see how Point was using his edges from, had one leg up in the air on both pivots. So I think that lower body, whether it's a hip flexor or something going on there, he looks healthy the way he was skating through the neutral zone there. I don't think he's anything less than 100% by the way he's been moving tonight. And there's Compher. Oh, Vasilevsky got a blocker on that backdoor chance. He didn't even know the puck was there, and he got his blocker on it. So goaltending is starting to swing in favor of Tampa, and now they got a power play coming here as, was that Lykinen? No, that was, who is that? O'Connor. O'Connor got the stick up on Braden Point. No blood, but a power play for Tampa. Logan O'Connor to the penalty. Logan O'Connor, healthy scratch tonight for Rock Republic, so they won't get the points from those penalty minutes, but they have Braden Point, and they're hoping that Tampa can come through on the power play here, possibly get another point from Braden Point, so we'll see. But let's see here. What else do we got going on? Trying to watch the game and catch up on the chat at the same time. So Colorado dumps the puck down the ice, start this power play, so I can give her a look here. But not the friendliest for trying to keep up on the chat as far as the way the system works here with Twitch. It's, if you're not monitoring it live, it's a bit of a catch up. But where are we at? So yeah, I talked about Gleb Trikozov. Following the latest Evander Kane news, reinstated in San Jose, would he need to be traded to a new team? So yeah, the Evander Kane contract dispute with San Jose, I have the game on mute, so I honestly haven't been reading that. I know Bill Daly addressed it right before the game tonight in the State of the Union address for the NHL. So to be honest, I don't know what's going on there. I'll be catching up on that. I'm sure Elliot will have a 32 thoughts, and that'll be pretty prominent in there coming out in the next couple days. So, but yeah, I don't know how that works with grievances. If it's reinstated, then I guess he's back under contract with San Jose, but I can't imagine they'll do that. I think it's more of an arbitration thing where I don't think it would be reinstated. It would just be San Jose owes him X number of millions for wrongful termination of the contract. I think it would be a payout. I think it would be like a severance package essentially that he would get from San Jose. I don't think he would actually go back under contract, and I mean I don't think there's any way he can go back into that room and even to trade that contract at $7.5 million. I don't know. He probably earned $7.5 million the way he played for the Oilers, but I don't think anybody's going to take 5 more years of Kane at that kind of money with the baggage that comes with Evander Kane. So yeah, I don't think it'd be that type of situation. I think it would be just a severance of if he wins that grievance, then San Jose is going to have to pay him the money, but I don't know. I think that would just be a straight up payment. I don't think it would count against San Jose's cap hit necessarily. And I also don't think he'd be back under contract and be expected to be a member of the San Jose Sharks again. I think he's a free agent either way. And I think it would be a severance type situation. But now that I say that, I'm sure everybody that watched with volume on today is probably like, oh, this guy has no clue what he's talking about, and that's not the way this grievance is going to play out, or not the way if it goes in San Jose's favor, that's not the way it would work. So don't quote me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I haven't been following, so I don't know exactly how the Evander Kane situation is going to play out. As Tampa's pressing here, no goal on the power play, but they're still in the offensive zone. Shots are now 30-19, and there's Cale Makar again, although he's going to have to circle back here. But just, there's a big aggressive play by Makar as Bowen Byram almost turned it over. A good battle there between Makar and looked like Brandon Hagel, but Makar can dish it out too. Like he's that all-around awesome, fun-to-watch defenseman. And again, shades of Bobby Orr. That's what everybody that people that I respect in the hockey world that did see Bobby Orr play, they said you see shades of Orr and Makar. So he's definitely fun to watch. And he's definitely been, he might not be on the score sheet. I don't think he has any points on the 3 Colorado goals. But as far as you're picking stars of the game or guys that stood out in this game, certainly number 8 for Colorado has been a standout again tonight. He's got to be getting, I don't know what he's at for minutes, but it seems like every time I zone in, I see a smart, active play from number 8 in Colorado. So he's definitely been a difference maker for the Avs, even though he's not on the score sheet. And I know he's a minus on that Anders Palat goal. That was probably not one of his finer moments in the playoffs, and Palat beat him to the back door for a tap-in from Kucherov when he danced Devin Taves, which doesn't happen too often to Taves either. So Makar obviously not expecting Taves to get walked like that, and forgot to pick up his man Palat. But there's a big save from Darcy Kemper on a one-timer from Kucherov, and then, that was Hagel there that had the run-in with Makar. Makar peeled back to Byram, knew Hagel was coming to hit him, and Makar instead initiated the contact and knocked Hagel into the net. So he can dish it out, and he's willing to take it. A great player, Cale Makar. Where else are we at? So Trotz heading to the Jets. Yeah, that makes the most sense now. I think, this is interesting. So Arnie says he thinks Trotz goes to Nashville. I don't think Nashville's fired John Hines, but I don't know if John Hines has a contract for next season. I haven't heard anything about Trotz to Nashville, but that wouldn't surprise me. David Poile might be falling out of favor a bit in management, and Trotz has the obvious history in Nashville, so it's definitely possible that Nashville ownership could have interest in bringing Barry Trotz back in a management type role when he's done coaching. But I think Winnipeg makes the most sense. I know we saw the joke on Telegram today that Barry Trotz told 2 guys at a gas station in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, that he's going home to coach the Jets. Don't know if there's any truth to that. Brewery in Winnipeg, a craft brewery, is offering free beer for a lifetime if Trotz comes home to Winnipeg. Trotz is from Dauphin, Manitoba, a good Manitoba guy. So I definitely think he'd like to coach the Jets. I think he'd be a good fit there with what they got going. I think Winnipeg could be a playoff team as early as next season under Trotz. I think they have a lot of talent coming. A good fit. I think Steve Yzerman is still going to be interested in Trotz. I don't know what Don Sweeney and Cam Neely are doing in Boston by firing Cassidy. I think they might have made that move in reaction to the Islanders firing or parting ways with Trotz. They might want Trotz in Boston. So I think he's the most coveted coach. Even Jim Nill down in Dallas, moving on with Rick Bowness out in Dallas. I think, they still have Ben, Sagan, that veteran core. If they're not transitioning to the youth just yet, they got Joe Pavelski. If they're still going to try to win with that old group, I think Trotz could be a great fit there. So I don't think there's a bad landing spot for Barry Trotz. I think Winnipeg is probably near and dear to his heart. I think he'd like to go home and help the Jets, and the fact they're back in Manitoba and kind of his last coaching stint and potential even there with Kevin Cheveldayoff, potential to move up into management with the Jets as well after his coaching career. So I think Winnipeg, but I mean, you look at all the spots around the league that are looking for coaches, I think Barry Trotz is probably number 1 on everybody's list, and he'll get to pick his spot because we've seen the kind of impact he can have as a coach. Yeah, Nick says he hopes the Canucks don't try and get Trotz unless it's super cheap. Well, I don't think anybody's getting Trotz super cheap. I think his pedigree is, I think Vancouver is set with Bruce Boudreau. I think Bruce, there it is, was a sensation. I think he's a great regular season coach. I think Vancouver is going to be back in the playoff picture in the Pacific next year, providing they get that quality of goaltending from Thatcher Demko again, and young guys like Podkolzin and Hoglander take another step. I think, here comes McKinnon speaking. Great play by McKinnon, and what a save by Vasilevsky. Stand-up save. You don't see much of that. He didn't go down. He's such a big guy, and he just, top of the crease, stared down McKinnon, and looked like he was going 5-hole, and Vasilevsky squeezed the pads somehow to keep that out. But Chernak turned the puck over. McKinnon beat Chernak, and then Chernak dove back. But yeah, just great save by Vasilevsky to stone McKinnon. And again, a guy like McKinnon's going to try to have an impact here in the third period, and that's probably his best chance of the night, shut down by Andrei Vasilevsky as Colorado pushes for that go-ahead goal. What else do we got? But yeah, I don't think Trotz to the Canucks, at least not yet. I think Bruce Boudreau is going to do well there, and I think it was weird that they didn't extend Boudreau sooner. I mean, it was surprising to me that he was sort of left in limbo and now has a 1-year extension by the sounds of it. They didn't lock him up to any terms, so Boudreau might be the biggest free agent coach next summer if things don't work out in Vancouver. But definitely, I think Trotz to Vancouver probably isn't happening this season, but maybe if they move on from Boudreau and Trotz is still somehow available in the years to come, he could circle back to Vancouver. Oh, I see what Nick's saying. My bad, Nick. Sorry. You're talking about Evander Kane to Vancouver. You said hopefully not Kane to Vancouver unless it's cheap. Yeah, I think if it's cheap, I think he goes to Edmonton. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you stay with McDavid if it's going to be cheap? I mean, well, I say that, but maybe he doesn't like Edmonton, the city. I don't know. I don't think you're going to see a hometown discount for Evander Kane. I know he's from Vancouver. I think that would be wishful thinking. But yeah, I mean, he is a Vancouver guy, but I don't. It could be a good fit. I mean, Horvat and Kane could be a pretty good duo as a forward line. I could see those two working well together. But yeah, I don't think Vancouver's in the mix for Kane. I mean, they got to figure out what they're doing with Brock Besser still. I mean, if you're moving Besser to sign Kane, I don't know if that's maybe it's a step forward. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if Evander Kane can be this. The way he played for Edmonton, if he can be that again. I mean, he's always been a productive player for San Jose, but again, that baggage, and for Winnipeg and Atlanta and everybody else before too, but I think the baggage is there. I don't think teams are going to want to give term to Kane, and so I think he's probably going to do, remember when Marian Hossa at the end, he was taking a 1-year, $9 million deal every year trying to chase a cup? I don't think Kane's chasing a cup, but I could see some teams going as high as 9 or 10 million. 8 million for sure on Kane, but on a 1-year deal where they just think he's going to be a ringer that can put him over the top for 1 year. Although, again, I think, how much money is there in this cap world? The cap crunch is real. Like Arnie said, I don't know how many teams have, I don't think he wants to go to, obviously he's not going back to Buffalo or going to Buffalo. Is he in Buffalo? Maybe I'm thinking something else there, but anyway, I can't see him going to Buffalo, Ottawa, Arizona, some of the teams that could afford that kind of money. I just, maybe he'd go to New Jersey and play with Jack Hughes. Maybe they could throw some money at him, but the teams that can afford that $9-10 million deal, I don't think he wants to play there necessarily. So interesting free agent though, if that comes to be that he's a UFA and he doesn't want to stay in Edmonton for $5.5 or $6 million, which is probably below market value for Evander Kane, and he doesn't want to go back to Vancouver for that price on a hometown discount, then he'll have lots of interest, but I don't know how much term he'll be able to get out of any teams, as we're down to the last 7:20 here in regulation. Shots are 33-21 for Colorado, still tied 3-3. Tampa Bay and Colorado. But yeah, sorry, Nick. I thought you were talking about Barry Trotz cheap, but yeah, obviously you're talking about Evander Kane and the potential fit with his hometown Canucks. And yeah, Arnie said, I don't think it can be cheap depending on if the arbitrator rules to reinstate his former contract. And I don't know about that, if they can bring back the former contract or if it's just a severance. I haven't been following that today, so Arnie, you might know more on that than I do. Palat's clutch. What else do we got here? As we multitasking, watching Stamkos trying to get in on the forecheck there. Here comes Colorado. It's up. Who's that forward carrying the puck up the ice for Colorado? Oh, yeah, right. That's Cale Makar, looking like a left winger there for reasons unknown. But just that, again, he's just so involved. He's so fast and he's so quick that he gets back to make up for any rushes he makes. But what he's doing, receiving a pass on the offensive side of center when I guess that's the D-to-D pass, Taves to Makar. But yeah, he's always jumping up in the rush and he's always involved. And here's a highlight of him again, pulling it around, trying to look like Cirelli blocked that one. But Makar, he's getting some highlight time here finally. They haven't shown a lot of Makar tonight. And set up Nichushkin there, another big save for Vasilevsky. But Makar's been all over it. And I don't really want a Bucci overtime challenge tonight, but if we get one, it's going to be hard for me not to take Makar. He's had some nice overtime goals where he's walked the line down the boards and scored some big goals this season. Chicago in the regular season, I want to say Nashville in the playoffs. McKinnon's looking dangerous here in the third period too, but Makar's been, even though he doesn't have any points tonight for Rock Republic, he's been the best player on the ice for either team in my estimation. From what I've seen, he's been the most active, most involved player. Dangerous every time he's on the ice. Here we go. McKinnon's out there again, this top line. There's Nick Paul skating it out, though. Lumbering through the neutral zone. Again, not the fastest guy, but he did beat Eric Johnson once, and he went around him again there in on the forecheck. This is where Nick Paul's big-time player, ragging the puck along the boards, taking it to the net. He's kind of like Patty Maroon that way. He slows the game down to his speed, and Leon Draisaitl does that too for Edmonton on a whole nother level. But look at Nick Paul handling that puck, right? The game just slows down for him, and he's a big guy on the forecheck here. He's going to keep it in the zone. Banks a shot off, and now he's going to go for a change. But good shift there from Nick Paul again, who's been a nice addition for Tampa to provide them with a big body down the middle and wins a lot of faceoffs, kills a lot of penalties, gets a lot of O-zone time with his cycling ability, and scores some big goals. Oh, yeah. Now Tony says, do these guys get come up with their commentary, or do they get fed? And yeah, definitely they have earpieces in and monitors and stuff in the broadcast booth. So there's guys working in the truck, like Dean says here too, that it's a team effort when you're broadcasting. They do, especially in the NHL, you're so high up, sometimes you can't see things too, but so you're watching the monitor as much as you're actually watching the ice. In the press box, even as a beat writer, my eyes aren't the best. So when I'm in, especially in Edmonton's new rink, if you're in that press box, I watch the game on the monitor more than I actually watch the ice, or the big screen. The screen's pretty big in Edmonton. You can see the game really well there, but every seat basically has a mini television there, and they do have people constantly bringing you stat packs, not only in the intermission, but even after every goal, and alerts coming up and stuff. So yeah, it's a team effort in the media world to keep everybody informed during the game and make sure you know what's going on with injuries and who's left the bench and all that stuff. It definitely gets fed up to the broadcast booth because it's hard to count numbers on the bench and total numbers as well as jersey numbers sometimes from the press box. So team effort as far as how that information gets funneled into the broadcast and how quickly they receive it. It's definitely a team effort. Where are we at here? Hey, Andy, thanks for the cheer bit, man. Sorry I missed that earlier. I'm not sure if Andy's still still hanging out watching the feed, but Andy threw in a cheer bit here a while back, so appreciate that, Andy. And Tony says he gave me 200 cheer bits, but I have to give it back when I owe him 1,000 score. Yeah, I got Colorado tonight. Tony's got Tampa, so it's a 3-3 game. Colorado's had the better chances here in the third period, but Tampa's only one shot away from winning at this point. I think we're now into the next goal wins territory. I'm willing to say that. I don't think we're going to see a back and forth here. Trading of goals. Steven Stamkos has been a bit quiet tonight. I could see him coming up with another big goal for Tampa for Tony's side of the bet. But yeah, we got 1,000 score coin riding on game one of the Stanley Cup final. 4 minutes to go in the third period. Colorado's out shooting Tampa 34-20, but we're tied 3-3. Got the fourth lines out here for both sides. You got Alex Newhook out there, the pride of Newfoundland, one of the franchise players. Big part of the future for Rock Republic, along with fellow Newfoundlanders, Dawson Mercer of the New Jersey Devils, and Zach Dean, first-round pick of the Vegas Golden Knights, part of their future. So definitely good that Rock Republic's been able to get some local products on the roster. You love to see that, especially when Nick's talking about maybe Vander Kane coming home to Vancouver. Well, Rock Republic's brought home Alex Newhook, Dawson Mercer, and Zach Dean. So any talent that's coming out of Newfoundland, you can imagine's on the radar for Rock Republic. And there's more coming, I can guarantee you that. There's some good young talent coming out of the Maritimes in Canada every year. I know Dawson Mercer's brother is a goaltender. He's eligible for this year's draft. I don't know if he'll get picked, but plays for Drummondville in the Q. And I believe he's property of the affiliated scout of Rock Republic as well. So, of course, they're scouting that midget bantam, U16, U18, whatever you want to call it, U14. They know their local products, and they're getting them in that feeder system as they work their way up. Got some rowdy fans in Colorado tonight trying to fire it up. Probably maybe I don't have the music on, or I don't have the volume on, but I definitely like when they play All the Small Things, Blink 182, they belt that out. That's sort of their, Edmonton had La Bamba, and Colorado for a lot of years has had All the Small Things from Blink 182 as their big third period sort of party anthem in the stands. Everybody gets singing it. So, yeah, definitely like All the Small Things in Colorado. That's a big part of the atmosphere here at, I don't know if it's called the Pepsi Center anymore, but the rink in Denver. I should know the name of the rink, but once upon a time, it was the Pepsi Center. I don't think that's the name anymore. Somebody will correct me on that. But yeah, definitely a fun building. And like I said in a previous watch party, I think in that Edmonton, Colorado watch party, I said Colorado's a hockey city and has been from day one, because the first year that the Quebec Nordiques moved there, Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg and the gang led Colorado to their first Stanley Cup in their first year being the Avs. And, all of a sudden you have a hockey town when you win a championship in year one. And they had a little bit of a dynasty run where they were kind of the Final Four team there for a number of years. Around that, they won a few cups. And in that decade with, Mark Crawford and Bob Hartley as coaches, they had a lot of good talent come through Colorado. And now we're getting the next wave of these Avs, and they still have, the core is, McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, Makar, Taves now. But looks like Patty Maroon might be taking a delay of game penalty here. That's a tough one. 1:24 to go in the third period. Looks like Patty Maroon lifted that one out of play. So big kill here for Tampa's. Colorado gets a late power play. I know how much everybody loves the delay a game puck over glass rule, and that's definitely straight out. So tough one for Patty Maroon, who doesn't make too many mistakes like that with all his Stanley Cup experience, 3 straight cups. But this is a big opportunity for Colorado's power play to close out the third period. Do we get a Bucci overtime challenge, or does Colorado win it here on the power play? It's going to be a fun ending now, so hang on to your hats. It's rocking, whatever that rink's called. They got some good energy going, good vibes going tonight in Colorado, and the big guys are out there. And, look out for Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon here. I mean, This power play is good all around, but I think Makar and McKinnon haven't had the impact on the score sheet yet, and I think here we go. Makar's got the puck off the draw. McKinnon pushed it back to him. Sort of a bit of a mishandle there. Gets over to Rantanen. Down low, that's going to be Landeskog down on the below the goal line. Him and Rantanen playing catch back up top to Makar, bringing it over to McKinnon. Fake shot, steps into the middle, fires wide. Landeskog's got to chase that down. He almost let that get out. Back to Makar, over to McKinnon. Again, pump fake. You can see Eric Chernak's ready for that one-timer. He's going to block it. But now McKinnon drives to the middle, gets the puck across the Landeskog. Makar keeps it in, back over to Landeskog, back down low. We got Lykinen playing that Kadri spot in the slot, sort of the net front presence. But yeah, good clear by Anthony Cirelli and the Lightning, but boy, did Colorado have that working around. They're going to have a carryover into overtime here if we get it. It's 30 seconds to go in regulation. McKinnon up the gut, splits the... What a move by McKinnon at the blue line, but Victor Hedman gets a stick on his shot, deflects it up and over the net. Now Alex Killorn back the other way with 20 seconds left, shorthanded, gets it off to Victor Hedman. Oh, big chance, shorthanded. Hedman, again, his shot gets blocked or directed wide. I believe that was Makar back there making a great defensive play to stop Hedman as Rantanen, one last rush. Looks like we're getting Bucci overtime challenge. 5 seconds. Oh, maybe not. Out in the slot. Makar again blocked. Gets that shot blocked. But we got overtime. Colorado carries 36 seconds of power play time into overtime. Now I am working overtime tonight. So maybe Tony might have to let me off the hook on this bet if Tampa wins. I might have earned my 1,000 score coin here, but let's fire up the Bucci Overtime Challenge. You guys can get it going on Telegram. You can drop your picks in here on the live chat as well. I'm going to go with Makar because I keep saying Makar, even though I think McKinnon's a great pick. I'm going Makar from Colorado, and I'm going to take Stamkos. Quiet night by his standards for Tampa. I considered Cirelli. I think he's been really good too. But I think Makar Stamkos for me. So I'll add that into the chat here. Sounds like Tony's not going to let me off the hook on the score coin bet. If Tampa wins, he wants his money, and he'll get it. I mean, I owe Tony and the founders of UFFS a lot more than 1,000 score coin. They've been extremely great to me over the last 2 years with UFFS. So 1,000 score coin is a small price to pay for all that they've all the opportunities UFFS has allowed me over the last 2 years to help build this platform, and exciting times ahead, as I like to say. So definitely now I can catch up on some of the chat here in the intermission while everybody else gets in their Bucci Overtime Challenge picks on Telegram. I'm sure you guys are firing that up there. I'll take a quick peek here as well. What are we behind? We're 187 Telegram messages behind, so I'm not going to be able to catch up, but we got Andrea's got out the playoff pool picks for the final, so that's awesome. UFHL NHL playoff pool, we'll update this here during this overtime intermission. We got 13 picks in favor of Rock Republic, 3 in favor of the Grizzlies, so that's looking good. To this point in game 1, 61.24 fantasy points for Rock Republic in game 1 so far to 31.19 for the Grizzlies. In the NHL, much closer matchup. We got 9 in favor of Colorado, 7 in favor of Tampa. So the breakdown for the 9 that took Colorado, we do have one sweep. The only sweep of the predictions was a Colorado sweep. We got one of the 16 entrants has Colorado in 5. 3 have Colorado in 6, and 4 have Colorado in 7. On the other side, we have 1 that took Tampa in 5. 5 people took Tampa in 6, including myself. And I had Rock Republic. I was one of the 13 in favor of Rock Republic, and only 1 has Tampa in 7. So most popular pick was Tampa in 6, with 5 contestants going Tampa in 6, including myself. And then the next most common was Colorado in 7. But Colorado's slight betting favorite, 9 in favor of Colorado to 7 in favor of Tampa. So that's interesting. Close battle there. Let's see here. Yeah, we're talking about the Evander Kane stuff here too. So yeah, Dan Nadeau says he doesn't think Kane will sign until that's cleared up one way or the other, and that makes sense. But I did see that Bill Daly said the arbitrator to hear that case won't be available until after July. So that Evander Kane, where he's going to play next year, is going to linger into the latter part of free agency likely. Yeah, so that'll be a bit of a wait there. And yeah, Tony's got his. We're getting some of our Bucci overtime challenge picks in here. We got Maroon and Rantanen for Tony. Maroon in the sin bin for another 36 seconds to start overtime. So certainly that delay a game puck over glass. He's going to want to make amends for that. I don't know how many shifts Maroon will get in overtime unless it gets into later into overtime. I think they'll shorten the benches a bit off the start. But certainly, John Cooper and Pat Maroon have such a history. I could see John Cooper trying to let Maroon be the hero tonight. And again, being his 3 straight Stanley Cups going for number 4, that's a great pick. Rantanen, hard to go wrong with somebody off Colorado's top power play, top line. Dan takes Hedman and Taves, so 2 defensemen. As mentioned, I got Makar and Stamkos as my picks. Dean took McKinnon and Maroon, so 2 picks for Patty Maroon. So we got two in favor of Patty Maroon to make amends for his penalty at the end of regulation there. So that could, karma and the hockey gods are a funny thing, and I know not a lot of people are fans of that puck over the glass delay a game. We're getting used to it now. It's not such a shock or such a disappointment when it happens anymore. It's kind of like it's part of the game now. But at first it was like you can't possibly decide a game. It's almost as bad as deciding a game by a shootout, deciding a game by a penalty where it's a puck over glass situation. But it's becoming part of the game. We're getting used to it now, so we don't have as much outrage over that penalty. Like I said, Dan's got Hedman and Taves. Kyle Roberts going with the big guns, McKinnon and Kucherov. Kyle Roberts obviously following closely the GM and part owner of the Rock Republic franchise. So lots vested in this. And both McKinnon and Kucherov, his picks, are both rostered by Rock Republic for this Klein Cup final. So going with 2 of their own guys. And as mentioned, I got Makar and Stamkos. And I'll just add that into the Telegram chat here so everybody knows. I won't do the running total, but I'll certainly circle back and update who had the right picks when we get through this overtime. But just adding mine in there. Makar and Stamkos for me. So yeah, that's what I got. And yeah, the rest of Telegram I'll have to catch up on. Hopefully, if this goes to double overtime or it's not over in the first 10 minutes, I might have to shut her down because I got... I hate to leave the watch party hanging in overtime, but I got quite a bit of stuff piling up here. I see some fairly important messages I got to get back to yet tonight, too, before the end. And like I said, I want to catch up on some of the other stuff in the hockey world, that Kane stuff. Obviously, Sam Cosentino's draft rankings. There's quite a bit of stuff. But I did finalize my draft rankings by all intents and purposes. I did the full 224. So the full 7 rounds for our final rankings. They'll be out likely the day after the Memorial Cup ends. I think it's the 26th of June, somewhere in there. Certainly before July 1st weekend, we'll have our UFFS final draft rankings out. But mine are finalized. The top 64 for sure are finalized because I've locked them into the algorithm or for the consensus. I've already submitted mine, so I can't tinker with those. Otherwise, I'm going to mess up that algorithm. So those are locked in. Rounds 3 to 7, 65 to 224. I might tinker with a little bit here and there, but I'm pretty confident with how they're shaping up. And it's an interesting draft. Let's put it that way. I do think we're going to see a lot of overagers. Don't think we're going to see a lot of goaltenders. It'll be interesting draft this year, but all eyes are on the Stanley Cup final before it shifts to the draft and free agency in the weeks to come. But definitely keep an eye out for our UFFS consensus final draft rankings. Articles, work in progress, obviously, depending on how many rankings get submitted over the next week or two. Again, I have my section of the article sort of mapped out, but yeah, it's a work in progress. That's a passion project for me. That's something I've been doing since 2012. Mock drafts and draft rankings, and obviously I've been scouting part-time, not so much anymore. I didn't do any live WHL game reports anyway this year for any NHL teams, but I've done that in the past, kind of freelance consulting, and certainly was a regional scout for the WHL's BC Division Western Conference with FC Hockey for 3 seasons, and was the head scout for the Hockey Writers for 6 seasons. And then I've been a beat writer here in Kelowna, British Columbia, since the 2008-2009 season, when the dating myself a bit, but Jamie Benn, Tyler Myers, Mikhail Backlund, Tyson Berry, all those guys led Kelowna to a WHL championship, and they went to the Memorial Cup that season as well. And mentioned already the 2015 year with Leon Draisaitl coming back to Kelowna here. That was a great run. Got to be a big part of that. And the Memorial Cup there, where they lost in overtime to Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Scored the overtime winner for the Oshawa Generals that year in a great championship game. Leon Draisaitl, the tournament MVP in defeat, even though they lost the championship game. But yeah, lots of good times as a beat writer and scout in the Western Hockey League. Again, having all those academies in my backyard for the Bantam draft or Prospects draft. I still call it Pursuit of Excellence, POE, but it's Rink Hockey Academy. They purchased POE. David Roy had done such a great job with POE, but now it's Rink Academy here in Kelowna, and they've got a ton of talent coming out, including first overall draft pick in this year's Bantam draft, Prospects draft, Gavin McKenna to the Medicine Tigers from the Rink Academy here in Kelowna. And then obviously Okanagan Hockey Academy down in Penticton. OHA was the other big talent producer. They've had a lot of first-round NHL draft picks and big-time producer of WHL talent in the last 10 to 15 years anyway. But yeah, interesting to see how this overtime plays out. Again, 36 seconds of power play time. Here we're seeing that Makar initiating the contact on Hagel when he knew he was going to get hit, and he's like, yeah, I'll dish this one out instead of take it. So I think everybody's pretty impressed. I don't have the volume on, but I'm sure they're pretty impressed with the impact Cale Makar's had game 1 of the Stanley Cup final. Stamkos McKinnon for Scott Blair. Scotty is taking Stamkos and McKinnon for his. So that's interesting because we have the SEO Picks Challenge going tonight too. And I don't know what side Scotty took there, but I know he's got a wager in. Let's check that while we're here. We got Stamkos and McKinnon. Like I said, Stamkos had a bit of a quiet game. McKinnon's up to 4.02 fantasy points. He only has the 1 assist. He's down to +1. He was +2 at one point. He's got 5 shots on goal, 2 takeaways to 1 giveaway, so he's at 4.02 fantasy points. Stamkos, he's +1 with 3 shots and 2 hits, 1.52 fantasy points. So an overtime winner might turn the tide there. That might be enough to get Stamkos ahead of McKinnon. If Stamkos was to score the overtime winner here, he could overtake McKinnon for the SEO Picks challenge tonight. McKinnon is the favorite. 400 score coin on McKinnon to 250 on Stamkos. So not sure what side Scotty took, but he's taken both of them, playing both sides for the Bucci overtime challenge. John Buchacross, obviously the longtime ESPN hockey commentator, is the inspiration for the Bucci overtime challenge. He's been running that for years on Twitter and elsewhere. But yeah, we got Stamkos and McKinnon playing both sides for Scott Blair as far as his picks for the overtime hero. Brent Baldwin, assistant GM with the Royals, the Founders Trophy winning Royals, is going Kucherov for Tampa and Nichushkin for Colorado. Nichushkin's had a heck of a game. Like I said, beyond Makar, Nichushkin might be the most noticeable av for me. So I like that pick as a guy that's had his fingerprints all over this game. OHL game is over. I'll come in there now. Oh, yeah. So Scotty's jumping on the Twitch watch party, Klein Cup playoff watch party as well. Colin Mills, who's had some success in Bucci overtime challenge picks. Colin's got a few right. He's taken Nate McKinnon, so lots of love for McKinnon. How can you not, at home, game one of the Stanley Cup final? Like I said, nobody's more driven or determined to be an impact player than McKinnon. And the will to win. I think we all know McKinnon has that. So he's going McKinnon and Nick Paul. We've talked about Nick Paul. He's got 1 goal tonight. He's been a real impact player for Tampa throughout this game. That wouldn't be surprising. Ryan Schmelzer. Good to hear from Ryan. Obviously, Ryan, captain of the Utica Comets. Great season for the New Jersey's American Hockey League affiliate. Ryan's the captain of the AHL's Utica Comets. He's also the general manager of the Gators franchise in the UFHL. We mentioned the Gators had a great run last season, made it all the way to the Klein Cup final. They lost to Red Army in the final. Again, another top 10. I believe they were 9th in the regular season standings and probably would have finished higher. Nate McKinnon is the franchise player for the Gators. But Ryan Schmelzer is going to take some under-the-radar heroes here. Alex Killorn, no goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs yet. Alex Killorn's due. I mean, it doesn't get much more due than that. He's been great with Tampa in these last 2 runs. My nachos guy behind Pat Maroon looks like he finally ate his nachos, so that's good to see. Or they got too cold and he threw them out before overtime so he can jump up and celebrate, not throw nachos all over his buddy there. So no nachos there. But Alex Killorn, very interesting pick. Bold pick by Ryan Schmelzer. A guy has no goals in the playoffs. Long overdue. So look out for Alex Killorn. And JT Compher, we mentioned, he's had a couple chances. Now, he had that one breakaway where Vasilevsky had the poke check. But Compher stepped into Nazem Kadri's role and helped fill that void. So a couple under the radar guys. Alex Killorn and JT Compher are the overtime predictions from our good buddy Ryan Schmelzer. What else do we have? We got Alex LeBlanc weighing in. He's taking Andrej Palat, who had the second goal for Tampa tonight. He's been all around it again tonight. And Colorado captain Gabriel Landeskog for Alex LeBlanc. And we're underway in overtime. Let's see how long this one lasts. 30-second power play for Colorado. Makar's got it at the point. Over to McKinnon, one-timer. Partially blocked and fanned on and back down the ice. Big clear for... didn't get a lot of wood on that one-timer and a good clear by Tampa. Now Makar just flying up the ice, trying to get one more chance on this power play as he circles his own. Back to McKinnon. McKinnon over to Devin Taves is out there. So Colorado's back to 2D. And Tampa blocks it again. And this, Maroon's out of the box now. So big kill there for Tampa. Now we're back to 5-on-5. As mentioned, Makar... set up McKinnon for the one-timer. That's obviously the look they wanted. McKinnon didn't get all of it and partially blocked. There's Patty Maroon, who, a couple guys took Patty Maroon for the overtime winner, and he's out there. John Cooper's giving him a chance, and he's in front of that net. He's digging for the rebound. Look at Patty Maroon go. Oh, boy, big Patty. The big rig was almost the hero. Imagine that. I want to say both Dean and, let's get back to the live scoring here. But I want to say both Dean and Tony were the ones that took Patty Maroon, so... he had a chance. Oh, there's your overtime hero. It's Colorado. Andre Burakovsky of Rock Republic is your overtime hero. First shot was blocked. Rebound sort of pass into Andre Burakovsky in the high slot. He one-times it past Andre Vasilevsky, who's a little out of position. So that overtime didn't last long. And I don't know, it looks like there's a Tampa fan in there giving thumbs down behind the celebration. But Colorado wins game 1 on home ice. Crowd goes wild inside and outside the arena. I guess I have something to celebrate. I got an extra for working overtime tonight. Even though I only had to work a couple extra minutes, I get 1,000 score coin from the boss. So we might let him off the hook. But if Liz hooks me up with some pay, Tony can let her know that there's a little top up there. Just kidding. But yeah, it's been a great night on the Klein Cup playoffs watch party. Avs draw first blood in the Stanley Cup final. Andre Burakovsky, who honestly had a very quiet game, he's been in and out of the lineup. He's even been a healthy scratch at times these playoffs. That was actually Nichushkin pressuring, and then JT Compher had the first shot. Nichushkin over to Burakovsky. And Burakovsky, I believe he's a Swedish-Russian. I believe he grew up playing as junior in Sweden, not Russia. But and then actually came over and played with the Barrie Colts, I want to say, in the OHL. But Andre Burakovsky from Valerie Nichushkin, and I don't know if JT Compher will get an assist, but he had that first shot blocked, and then Nichushkin over to Burakovsky, and Colorado's got the 1-0 series lead at home ice, and there you see Joe Sakic. He's pumped in the press box. Avs management celebrates overtime winner in Game 1 from Andre Burakovsky, and honestly, Burakovsky didn't do a whole lot throughout that game, but he comes up with the overtime winner, and of course, Andre Burakovsky is rostered by Rock Republic, so give them the GWG as you see here. Andre Burakovsky gets the game-winning goal for Rock Republic. What a night, what a start to the Klein Cup final for Rock Republic. 66.62 fantasy points tonight. So they're up by, 32 points over the Grizzlies, who had a great game as well. 34.36. That's an impressive total. 34 points, but Rock Republic's just looking too strong early on in this Klein Cup final. And so Tony actually only lost himself 800 score coin tonight because he did manage to pick up the 200 score coin from Dave in their side bet where he took Rock Republic over the Grizzlies tonight. But lots of fun there. McKinnon will win the SEO picks contest. I'll get that updated here in a bit, as well as the nightly update for the Klein Cup playoffs. But Andre Burakovsky, the hero, quiet game for him, and he's one of those players. He's streaky, he's quiet, and then boom, he's on the score sheet at a big time. Like I said, Jared Bednar's had him in and out of the lineup throughout the playoffs. I think he was hurt. He had a big block shot in that series too, so I think he was hurt for part of that with a lower body injury. But he's back, and he comes through at a big time. I believe that was his only shot tonight. Oh no, I guess Burakovsky had a pretty good game. He had 3 shots on goal, had a block. But yeah, I didn't notice Burakovsky much. He wasn't on my radar for the Bucci Overtime Challenge picks. Nobody took Burakovsky, and he comes out and gets the winner. I know Ryan Schmelzer had JT Compher. He led the rush on that overtime winner, had his shot blocked. Somebody else had taken Nichushkin, which I thought was a great pick, and he had everybody thought Nichushkin's going to shoot there because he's naturally a volume shooter. He's a shoot first kind of guy, but great pass across to Andre Burakovsky for the winning goal for Rock Republic, as well as the Colorado Avalanche obviously take Game 1 of the Stanley Cup final. Goaltending decision, we were talking about it, so let's see here. They haven't given the win bonus yet to Darcy Kemper on Fantrax, but he will actually end up with more fantasy points than Vasilevsky, because Vasilevsky's going to lose a point for the loss. He'll go down to 1.8, and Kemper's going to get 2.5 for the win, so he goes up to 3.5. So the game within the game, trying to guess which goaltender is going to get more fantasy points. Even though Vasilevsky had 14 more saves than Kemper, Kemper gets that all-important win bonus, and Vasilevsky gets saddled with the L's. So Kemper was the goaltender of choice, the right goaltender to take tonight for Rock Republic, but I don't think Kyle Roberts is going to lose too much sleep. His Rock Republic guys get the overtime winner from Andre Burakovsky. Goals from Mikhail Sergachev, Nick Paul, Andrej Palat, Valerie Nichushkin. I mean, this game's a 4-3 game in overtime, 7 goals. And 5 of the goals go to, 5 goals go to Rock Republic. We got Burakovsky with the winner. We got Nichushkin, Palat, Paul is 4, and Sergachev is 5. Right, and then the other 2 obviously were Landeskog and Arturi Lehkonen, who were both members of the Grizzlies. So 5 goals for Rock Republic, 2 goals for the Grizzlies. As far as the scoring goes, Obviously Mikko Rantanen had a couple assists there I saw for Victor Hedman had an assist. So yeah, a lot of the big guns for Rock Republic were getting it done. Stamkos had a bit of a quieter night. Bowen Byram did have an assist for the Grizzlies. Landeskog had 2 points with a goal and assist. Lehkonen was that's a -2 for Lehkonen, but I thought Lehkonen was pretty good. That net front presence on the power play, did have the power play goal. So yeah, strong game for Lehkonen. Again, I think Hagel had an assist. Yeah, Compher did get an assist on that overtime winner. So the Grizzlies had a decent night, but again, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Grizzlies in this Klein Cup final because of that manpower advantage for Rock Republic. Braden Point, I think he only had 1 assist tonight. It wasn't like a highlight reel assist. He got bumped off the puck, and Hedman fired it up, and Nick Paul got behind the defense and scored that goal. But Braden Point had some jump. He had some speed through the neutral zone. He didn't seem to be hurting. So a great start for Braden Point, even in the losing effort with Colorado taking game 1 4-3 in overtime. But this is going to be a great series. Hopefully we get to do another watch party at some point. Maybe next week at some point we'll try and get another watch party in. But a lot of fun here as always on the UFHL Klein Cup Playoffs watch party. Thanks to everybody for joining. Like I said, Nathan McKinnon gets the better of Steven Stamkos in tonight's SCO Picks contest. We'll get another one of those up before Saturday's Game 2, obviously. But, yeah, heck of an opener in the Stanley Cup final. Great start to the Klein Cup final as well, especially for Kyle Roberts and Rock Republic. And we'll see what Game 2 brings. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate all the chat. Again, I probably missed some of it tonight, but you guys were on fire in the chat. It was great to see so much engagement and lots of back and forth. So, yeah, try to keep up on the chat, and I'll catch up on Telegram now and then get all the updates ready for tonight yet. But, again, thanks for tuning in to the another successful and fun Klein Cup Playoffs watch party. Best of luck to Rock Republic and Grizzlies the rest of the way or until our next watch party. And again, enjoy this Stanley Cup final because it's a treat to watch this much talent on the ice for both teams. As I see that highlight of that Palat goal from Kucherov, what a move that was by Kucherov. But all in all, a fun night on the UFHL Klein Cup Playoffs watch party. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time. Have a great weekend and a great rest of the week.